Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto joins Anbu after Sasuke retrieval mission. Before I start, please support for more amazing content and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by DECAYER 2022 and link in the description and support writer. Let's start the video. Tsubaku no Kitsune. Chapter 1. Valley of the End. Sasuke retrieval mission. Sasuke Uchiha popped out of the water and began to swim to shore with Naruto in tow. Sasuke upon reaching the shore dropped Naruto on the bank and looked down at him. Sasuke was bleeding heavily as his left arm was gone and his left leg was severely damaged. Naruto's Rasengan hit him on the shoulder, tearing it off and damaging most of his left side. Naruto's chest wound was slowly healing and color was coming back to his face. Sasuke looked down at his wounds and chuckled. Well, Naruto, Sasuke said weakly from the blood loss. Looks like you won. After Sasuke began but did not finish. Sasuke fell backwards into the water, the current carrying him away as a trail of blood followed behind him. Naruto laid on the back of the valley unconscious for about 15 minutes until someone landed. Kakashi looked around. No Sasuke, Kakashi thought. Looks like he got away, Kakashi thought. Hey Kakashi, Pakin said, the small dog gaining Kakashi's attention. Look over here, Pakin said. Kakashi looked over and saw a severed arm on the shore. Kakashi took in a deep breath. So, Naruto killed Sasuke, Kakashi said, looking down at Naruto. God, I hope there could have been another way. But I know Naruto, if he did it then he had no other choice, he said, reaching down and picking Naruto up. The kid might not be bright, but he has a good head on his shoulders, Pakin said, but still killing a comrade isn't easy. You of all people should know that, he said, and Kakashi nodded sadly. When he wakes up, he'll need someone to break the news, Kakashi said. Better me than someone else, he said. Let's go and get him some help, Kakashi said. Kakashi and Pakin both left the area with the unconscious Naruto. In Konoha a few hours later, Tsunade Senju, the 5th Hokage, just got done stabilizing Naruto after returning. He's currently unconscious, but will be able to make a recovery. Now she was in the Konoha council chambers about to hear about how the last Uchiha got killed. She knew that the civilian council and the majority of the shinobi council wanted to protect him since he has a rare Kekkei Genkai. Lady Tsunade Koharu said, is it true that Sasuke Uchiha is dead and that he was killed during the attempt to retrieve him, Koharu asked, and Tsunade nodded. Correct, Tsunade said. Naruto Uzumaki had to use lethal force in order to stop Sasuke Uchiha. While it is unfortunate, it is better for Sasuke to be eliminated than to be in the hands of a madman like Orochi Amri, Tsunade said. The next moment Tsunade was bombarded by shouts and accusations. It's that damn boy's fault, he's out of control, we lost the last of a great clan, we should kill him in repentance, they all shouted. Shut the fuck up, Tsunade shouted, slamming her fist. While Naruto did cause the mission to fail, it is not his fault, we should not be blaming him, Tsunade said. Danzo Shimura then stood up. Lady Tsunade, Danzo spoke, it is evident that the boy has no control over the power he possesses. He should either be eliminated or placed under me for supervision and training, Danzo said, and Tsunade looked at him with anger. And turn him into a soulless killing machine. No goddamn way, Tsunade said, and Danzo smirked. Very well then, I say we take a vote tomorrow. Then Danzo said, tomorrow we vote yay or nay. Naruto either be let off for his failure or placed under my command, he said. Tsunade scowled at this. According to Konoha law, one can call for a vote to decide the outcome of a problem, but Tsunade then smirked. Well, the entire civilian council and the Hyuga clan will vote for Danzo, the Inyazuka, Aburame, Yamanaka, Akamichi and Nara clans will vote to keep Naruto free. Very well, Danzo, Tsunade said, we'll see to this vote tomorrow, Tsunade said. This meeting is adjourned, Tsunade said as everyone began to walk out. When Danzo began to walk out, he smirked to himself. Good, now time for the second part of my plan, Danzo thought. Konoha Hospital. Outer courtyard. Let us in to kill that demon, a man shouted. He killed the Uchiha, we want revenge, a woman shouted. What's wrong with you people, Sakura shouted at the mob. She was blocking the entrance trying to keep them out. Naruto had no choice. You don't need to do this, she said, trying to calm the crowd down. When Sakura was told what happened by Kakashi-sensei, she immediately rushed to the hospital to see Naruto. He made her a promise, and now she felt guilty for putting that on him. When she arrived, a mob of about 500 people were approaching the door ready to kill Naruto. Get out our way, girl, a man shouted as he walked closer, or else he began until a wall of sand pushed him back into the crowd. You will not hurt Uzumaki, Gaara said, appearing in a swirl of sand. While me and my siblings are here, you will not pass, Gaara said. Oh yeah, what will you do, huh, man in the crowd shouted. I'll crush you like the vermin you are, Gaara said, with his sand swirling around him. Now leave before I lose my temper, he said. The crowd ready to barge in then began to back away. Gaara returned the sand to his gourd and looked at Sakura. Uzumaki is unconscious but safe, Gaara said, making Sakura let out a sigh of relief. Please come back tomorrow to see him if he's awake, Gaara said, and Sakura nodded. Thank you, keep him safe, Sakura said, and Gaara nodded. I have two of the best shinobi and Suna guarding him, Gaara said. Of Temari and Kankuro. Kankuro was in Naruto's room reading a vial from a nurse. So far several nurses have tried to poison Naruto, but Kankuro, being a poison expert, inspected all medicines. "Okay, go on ahead," Kankuro said, handing the vial back to the nurse. He then stopped her. "Use my syringe," Kankuro said, pulling out a syringe from his pouch, and the nurse took it. The nurse then injected Naruto with the medicine and began to walk out. "You think I wouldn't notice the small drop of poison from your needle?" Kankuro said, making the nurse freeze. "You are lucky I am not allowed to kill you," Kankuro said as the nurse walked out. Kankuro then walked out and saw his sister Temari sitting in a chair watching the door. "Another one?" Temari asked, and Kankuro nodded his head. "Motherfuckers, he saved the village from Shukaku, and this is how they repay him," she said with a snarl. "It sucks, I know," Kankuro said, "but all we can do for right now is guard him," Kankuro said, and Temari nodded. But Choji Akimichi was lying in his hospital bed unconscious. He had used his family's food pills and was now fighting for his life. Out of the corner of the room, and blank mask Anbu appeared out of the shadows and took out a needle. The Anbu then injected it into Choji's IV. In a few seconds Choji began to hyperventilate and shake uncontrollably. After a few seconds Choji stopped moving and stopped breathing. Choji's heart monitor then showed he flatlined and began to sound a steady beep. "Mission complete," the Anbu said as he disappeared back into the shadows. A minute later the door swung open. Choji. Shikamaru yelled as he and Ino ran in. Shikamaru began to do CPR on Choji. Help, someone help us," Ino shouted as she ran out into the hall. A few hours later, Ara, Kankuro and Temari were all guarding Naruto's room. He was still unconscious, and there were several more nurses and doctors that tried to kill him. "God damn, we are going to get no sleep tonight," Temari thought. Temari then saw out of the corner of her eye Shikamaru and Ara walking toward them with a kunai in his hand. "Hey lazy ass, what's going on?" Temari asked. "Did you see someone trying to get to Naruto?" she asked. "Out of the way, Temari," Shikamaru said coldly. Temari, now realizing what was happening, stood at the ready with her fan blocking the hallway. "I said get out of my goddamn way," Shikamaru said, and Temari scowled. "You better not be doing what I think you're doing," Temari said, and Shikamaru scowled back. "Toji is dead," Shikamaru said with anger in his voice. "Neji is on life support, Sasuke's dead, the mission failed, and it's all his fucking fault," Shikamaru shouted. "Naruto is a ninja. Ninja kill people. People die on missions," Temari shouted back. "It isn't his fault. You and the village are just blind idiots," she said. Shikamaru then tried to make his way around her. Temari without hesitation picked up her fan and swung it at Shikamaru. Shikamaru was hit dead in the chest and was sent flying into a wall. Temari then put her fan in front of her. "If you try that shit again, I'll kill you," Temari said with venom in her voice. "Fine, whatever," Shikamaru said, getting up with a wince. "Just you watch, he'll get what's coming to him," he said as he began to walk away. Temari sat back down with a huff. "Looks like I was wrong about him," Temari thought as her feeling toward the Nara boy died in those few minutes. "Fuck, this is intense," Kankuro said. "I'm going to take a piss and get something to eat. I'll bring you something back," he said. As Kankuro walked down the hall he passed a break room and heard a conversation. "When are those sand ninja going to leave?" a nurse asked a doctor in a whisper. "From what I hear, tomorrow," a doctor said. "Once they leave, we can be rid of that demon once and for all," he said. Kankuro's eyes then widened. "Shit, that's right, our visas end tomorrow, we'll be heading back to Suna," Kankuro thought. "We can't just leave Naruto here," Kankuro thought as he snuck away. I need that's it," he realized as he walked into the bathroom. "It's crazy, but it just might work," Kankuro thought. The next day, Konoha Council Chambers. Tsunade entered the chambers and took a seat. "Sorry, I was saying farewell to the Suna team who assisted us," Tsunade said. "Now let's get this vote over with," she said. "I agree," Danzo said, standing up. "I, Danzo Shimura, request by vote that Naruto Uzumaki be placed under my command for training and confinement." "Those who oppose say nay," he asked. "Nay." Tsunade, Sumin Yuzuka and Shibi Aburam said. Tsunade then felt her blood run cold. "Only 3 votes out of 12. "Those who agree say yay," Danzo said. "Yay Hamura, Kaharu and 6 others said. "Vote is 9-3, yay to nay," Danzo said. "Uzumaki upon waking up will be under my command," Danzo said. Tsunade then stood up and slammed her hands on the table. "Shikaku, Inoichi, Choza, how could you?" to a fellow shinobi, Tsunade yelled. "My son died yesterday," Choza said with sadness in his voice. If Uzumaki had more control over his power, he could have brought back the Uchiha, and his death would not be in vain, he said. "We support our friend," Shikaku said. "Also it makes sense. Naruto has nearly unlimited power. He could just." Then there was an explosion that rocked the chambers. "What now?" Tsunade said. Just then an Anbu came in the room. "Lady Hokage, it's Naruto Uzumaki. His room has been bombed," he said. Everyone in the room including Danzo looked at him in shock. "Is he alive?" Tsunade asked, the life draining from her face. "We don't know, my lady," he said. At the hospital, Shizune was going through the rubble that was Naruto Uzumaki's room. "Please be in here, please be alive," Shizune prayed as she moved the rubble. She then found a dead Konoha ninja underneath a piece of rubble. An assassin, Shizune thought. "Lady Shizune," Anbu shouted. "I found something," he said. He then held up a burned headband. Shizune ran over and looked behind at Naruto Uzumaki. Future Hokage was written on the back in orange marker. Shizune began to tear up and covered her mouth, just then she heard a footstep. She looked and saw a pale Tsunade. Tsunade looked at Shizune and then the headband where is he where's Naruto, Shizune Tsunade said walking in. Lady Tsunade don't Shizune said trying to keep her away. Tsunade then grabbed the headband from her and held it tight. Oh god Tsunade said as he fell to the ground and began to cry Naruto, why did you have to leave us Tsunade choked out as she began to sob on the ground. With Gaara, Temari and Kankuro. Gaara, Temari and Kankuro were walking back to Suna. Gaara and Temari were worried about Naruto as they did not trust the Anbu who was supposed to be guarding him. Kankuro however was constantly turning around and looking behind them. Kankuro calmed down, Temari said there is no need to worry, I'm sure the Hokage will do something she said. Kankuro ignored her, and when he finally saw the Konoha Suna border, he ran to it. Temari and Gaara were surprised. Kankuro then took his puppet off his back and began to unwrap it. Free Kankuro said as he began to unwrap the puppet. Kankuro what are you Gaara began until Kankuro removed the remaining bandages revealing Naruto. Gaara and Temari were stunned. Naruto was still unconscious and wrapped up in crow's bandages, and his hair was dyed brown with machine oil. Kankuro what how why Temari stuttered out not believing what she was seeing. Kankuro held up his hand to stop her. I can explain Kankuro said. Tsubaku no Kitsune. Chapter 2. Naruto woke up with a groan as his body and his head hurt more than any other time he could remember. Ugh damn Naruto said as he cracked open his eyes and looked around. He saw that he was in a hospital room, but it was different. The hospital in Konoha was usually made out of plaster, this room looked like it was made out of stone and clay. Where the hell am I Naruto said looking around, just then the door opened and a nurse walked in. When the nurse saw Naruto, she immediately put down the tray holding liquids and cloth and ran over. Oh, my goodness you're awake she said surprised as she checked over him please wait right here, I will go and get Lord Gaara she said as she ran out of the room. Gaara, what does Gaara have to do with this as Naruto thought. A few minutes of waiting in silence the door opened once more and Naruto saw three familiar faces. Gaara, Kankuro, Temari, hey guys what's up, Naruto said with a smile. Uzumaki looks like you awoke Gaara said in his monotone voice, but with a small smile on his face. Hey Blondie, looks like you finally awoke after all Kankuro said, and it looks like the oil washed out of your hair, it only took a few soaks he said, making Naruto confused. Welcome back to the land of the living Naruto Temari said how are you feeling Temari asked, and Naruto stretched. I feel like I got dropped kicked of the Hokage mountain, but other than that I'm fine Naruto said rubbing his neck hey where am I, this isn't Konoha Naruto said confused, and all three Sand siblings got solemn looks on their faces. You're in Suna, Uzumaki Gaara said you are here because we helped you escape Konoha while you were unconscious Gaara said, and Naruto grew wide-eyed. Escape? What do you mean escape Naruto asked worried, Kankuro then walked up. I wrapped you up in the bandages for my puppet Kankuro said, we left Konoha with you disguised so we won't garner any suspicion Kankuro said. Naruto listen to me Temari said grabbing his hand there is a lot you need to know she said. Over the next few minutes Gaara, Kankuro and Temari explained everything that has transpired since he was knocked unconscious. Naruto accidentally killing Sasuke, most of Konoha's population wanting his life in repentance, and his former comrades like Shikamaru and Ino turning on him for the death of Choji. And yesterday after we arrived to Suna we put you here in the hospital Gaara said, since then we have heard that the puppet Kankuro set up to stage your death has since exploded. So, for all intents and purposes, you are dead to Konoha and the rest of the world, Gaara said. Naruto was sitting in his bed quiet and wide-eyed, Konoha, his home wanted to kill him. His friends who he knew for years turned on him. Naruto Temari said softly are you okay she asked putting a hand on his shoulder. Naruto looked at her and tried to speak, but no words came out. Naruto then began to hyperventilate and tremble. The three Sand siblings became alarmed at this and moved in closer. Naruto then began to clutch his chest and began to thrash violently. Gaara then used his sand to restrain Naruto. What the hell Temari shouted what's happening she shouted. He's having a panic attack I think Kankuro said reaching into his pouch I'm sorry, but Nakuro said pulling out a syringe. Kankuro jabbed the syringe into Naruto's neck and injected him. Naruto then began to calm down. Naruto's eyes then rolled to the back of his head and he collapsed back onto the bed. What was that Gaara asked Kankuro. Horse tranquilizer Kankuro said I use it to poison my needles in case we need to capture a fleeing target he said. God damn it, Temari said rubbing her temples he wakes up from a near-death mission only to find out that his village want him dead and he killed his comrade she said. He had to find out sooner or later Kankuro said I'm going to go and get a doctor he said as he walked out. I'm heading to the Kazekage Tower Gaara said. I have some work to do for Naruto Gaara said to Temari who nodded. Gaara then disappeared in a swirl of sand, leaving Temari alone with an unconscious Naruto. Naruto, I'm so sorry that this is happening to you, Temari said as she began to stroke the unconscious boy's hair but don't worry, you still have me, Gaara and Kankuro. You helped us so we will help you, she said. Konoha. 2 days later, Sakura Haruno let a few tears as she laid down a couple flowers on Naruto's makeshift grave. Konoha didn't allow him a proper burial, so she made do with what she had. Sakura then turned around and faced the small crowd of people who gathered. While the majority of the village hated Naruto, there were still some who did not resent him. Hinata and Hanabi Hyuga both went against their father's wishes and showed up in secret to pay respect to Naruto. Neji, after finding out what happened, did a complete 180, saying that Naruto was nothing more than a liar and a hypocrite. Both girls have since banded together and have been isolating themselves from their clan. Shino Aburam never resented Naruto, he thought the whole thing was illogical. Shino had threatened Kiba, who did not like Naruto, to stay away from him and Hinata and to not sully his legacy. Kurenai Yuhi and Asuma Saratobi showed up as well. Kurenai was moved by Naruto for getting justice for Hinata by beating Neji in the Chunin exams, and Asuma liked the boy because his father, the third Hokage, liked him. Konohamaru, Yuden and Mogi showed up because they all loved and admired Naruto. To Konohamaru, Naruto was a big brother, to Yuden Naruto was an inspiration, and to Mogi, Naruto was her first crush as much as she denies it. Rock Lee and Might Guy both respected Naruto for his grit and courage. Tenten, not knowing Naruto that well, sided with Neji, and since then Team Guy has been spit in too. Gucci and Aya Michiraku were present as well. By far they have suffered a lot since they heard the news. Naruto was the shining light of their shop. Since Naruto died, they have since removed Naruto's favorite stool in order to make sure no one sits there again. Iruka and Anko were present. Iruka loved Naruto like a brother, and Anko saw Naruto as similar to her, a village outcast. Yugao and Ibiki along with about 50 Anbu were hiding in the trees looking down. They knew more than what the villagers knew about Naruto and knew about who his parents are. Some of them even wanted to quit after they heard about what happened, but Yugao told them that Naruto wouldn't want them to quit over him. And lastly was Tsunade and Shizune. Both women were total wrecks after Naruto's death. Tsunade had been drinking herself into a coma until she was stopped by Shizune and Anko. Since she has been a shell of her former self. Sakura, looking at the crowd, began to speak. Naruto was a great and noble person. He promised me that he would bring back Sasuke from Orochimaru's clutches. He may have failed, but I don't care. He promised me and he had the full intention of going through with it. He was that selfless. I always knew he had feeling for me, but I always brushed him off for Sasuke. I was a fool for doing so. Instead of being with a cold-hearted traitor, I could have had a goofy knucklehead with a heart of gold, but I threw it away. I wish I was better to him, and if I could see him one more time, I'd tell him how much I appreciate and cherish him, but I can't. All I can do now is live on in his memory, so I will do what he never could do during his life. I will train hard and I will become Hokage in his place. That is how I will honor Naruto Uzumaki. My team member, my friend and my new inspiration. Sakura looked at the crowd with tears falling down her cheeks. She then moved aside so the next person could say a few words. But Sakura, a little while after the funeral, Sakura was pounding on a door. Kakashi-sensei, come on out, Sakura shouted as she began to knock again. You missed the funeral, come on out, she said again. Fuck this, Sakura said as she brought up her foot and kicked the door open and marching in. Kakashi-sensei, you gotta, oh my god, Sakura said, not believing what she was seeing. Kakashi was passed out at the table with multiple bottles of liquor in front of him. Sakura then grabbed a bottle and poured the contents on Kakashi's head. Kakashi then got up swinging a kunai that Sakura caught. Sakura then disarmed the drunk Kakashi and sat him back down in the chair. What the fuck, Sakura, Kakashi said, running his temples. What do you want? Let me just wallow here in my misery, he said, grabbing another bottle and opening it. Sakura then slapped it out of his hand. You are here drinking yourself to death, Sakura said, and Kakashi scoffed. So, what, why do you care? Kakashi said, 2 of my genin is dead, 1 murdered by stupid villagers and 1 killed because he went traitor, he said. And you, why do you want me to stop? Kakashi said, I ignored you and Naruto for Sasuke, all because I thought I could save the ungrateful little shit. I should have killed him when I saw the curse mark like how Lord Hokage wanted. He was no Anko, just a power-hungry bastard, Kakashi said. Sakura then slapped him across the face, making him fall out of the chair. If you feel that way, then train me, damn it, Sakura shouted. I'm your last student. You think Naruto would have wanted you to drink yourself to death, she said, and Kakashi chuckled. What do you care about what Naruto would have wanted? Kakashi said, all you ever did was chase after Sasuke. You were so blinded by lust that you basically wanted to be his whore, he said. Sakura then huffed and let out a sigh. You're right, Kakashi, Sakura said, I was blind before, but my eyes are open now, Sakura said, making Kakashi look at her. I'm planning on becoming Hokage to honor Naruto, so, if you want to stay here and kill yourself, then fine, Sakura said, turning around, but I'm not going to just give up, she said. Kakashi, looking at Sakura walk away, let out a sigh. Be at training ground 7 tomorrow at 6 AM tomorrow. I won't be late, Kakashi said. Sakura then turned around and smiled. See you then, Sakura said as she walked out, closing the door behind her. Kakashi then got up and stumbled over to the bathroom. Oh god, I feel like shit, Kakashi said as he began to throw up in the toilet. Hokage Tower. What then fuck happened? Jiraiya shouted as he slammed his hands on the table. I leave for a week and come back and find out that Naruto is dead. The village hates him and you are in a power struggle with Danzo, he said, and Tsunade sighed. Danzo has been using my connections with Naruto against me. Jiraiya. Tsunade said he now has the support of the Shinobi Academy and the Civilian Council. 75% of the shinobi hate Naruto, 90% of the civilians hate him, and the only clan I have support from is the Aburam, she said. What, why them? Jiraiya asked. They see Naruto being the container of the nine tails, the same as them carrying those insect in their bodies. Tsunade said Tsume and the Inyazuka aren't doing too hot either. The clan is split with Tsume and her daughter on one side and her son on the other. Kiba never liked Naruto, and since then he's been garnering support from his clan. There's talk of him branching off and starting a new clan, she said. Jiraiya then sat down. My god, how did things get this bad? Jiraiya said, and Tsunade began to laugh. And that's not even the worst part yet, Tsunade said. Shikamaru Nara and Ino Yamanaka both have been slandering Naruto. The village now sees him as a jealous, angry brat who murdered a clan heir in order to pave the way to being Hokage, Tsunade said, and Jiraiya let out a sigh. I knew I should have taken Naruto with me. Jiraiya thought I shouldn't have listened to sensei. Being in the village would be good for him. Look at how that turned out, Jiraiya thought. Jiraiya then stood up. I'm heading out, Tsunade. Jiraiya said. I have to find Orochimaru and kill him. Also, I can't stand being in this village, he said, looking outside at the celebrations happening in the streets. If Minato saw what he gave his life up for, he'd be rolling in his grave, he said. Tsunade nodded and spoke. I don't know what Danzo has planned, Jiraiya. Tsunade said, but we must fight him every step of the way. We will not let him capitalize on the tragedy we have suffered, she said, and he nodded. I'll be in contact, Tsunade. Jiraiya said. Also, do you have all of the Uzumaki and Namikaze clan scrolls, he asked. Yes, why? Tsunade asked. Burn the ones that are more important and send the rest to Mount Myaboku, Jiraiya said. I'd rather not have Danzo or some other greedy fucker take them, he said, and Tsunade agreed. Okay, I'll send them there. Tsunade said. Goodbye, Jiraiya. It's a shame you missed the funeral, she said. I was there, Tsunade, Jiraiya said, making her go wide-eyed. I was there when his pink-haired teammate gave her little speech. I left because if I stayed any longer, then I would have been crying harder than I already was, Jiraiya said as he disappeared in a swirl of leaves. With Danzo was sitting in his office looking over some paperwork. I may have lost the nine tails, but I have not lost the war, Danzo thought. I just need to buy my time, and when the time is right, I'll take the task of Hokage and reign in a new era for the Leaf, he thought. Now I just need some loyal pawns, Danzo thought. These three will do perfectly, he thought as he looked at the pictures of Shikamaru Nara, Ino Yamanaka and Niji Hyuga. Suna the next day. How long has Naruto been in there? Temari asked, standing outside the shower room in hospital, the nurse who was with her side. All day, the nurse said. He took a chair in there, she said. Temari then sighed and knocked. Naruto, you have to come out, Temari said. Are you just planning on staying in the shower forever, she said. Yes, Naruto said through the door. Temari groaned and kicked the door. Unlock the damn door, Temari shouted. I didn't lock it, Naruto said. Both Temari and the nurse looked at each other. Temari then reached out and turned the knob. It then opened as Temari, and the nurse blushed in embarrassment. Temari then walked in expecting to see a naked Naruto. Instead, she saw Naruto fully clothed, in the shower, crying in the fetal position. Oh shit, Temari thought. His depression is worse than yesterday, she thought. Naruto, please get up, Temari said, trying to do a gentler approach. Why should I? Naruto said in between sobs. I have nothing now. I had very little before, and now I have nothing. Just leave me here, he said as he began to sob again. Temari then felt her heart pang for the boy. Oh man, I hope this works, Temari thought. Naruto, you need to get up, you have a mission, she said. Naruto stopped sobbing and rolled over. A mission, me? He asked, and Temari nodded. Yes, a mission at the Kazekage Tower, Temari said. Get dressed and let's go, she said. Naruto nodded and got up. Fine, but I won't be chasing cats again, Naruto said as he got out of the shower and began to exit the room. I'll get you some dry cloths, the nurse said as she walked off. Naruto nodded and sat down in a chair. So, who's giving out the missions? Naruto said. Didn't the last Kazekage die or something? Naruto asked, and Temari smirked. Yeah, our new Kazekage is stepping up today, Temari said, making Naruto confused. Kazekage Tower 2 hours later. Glad you could make it, Uzumaki Gaara said, sitting behind the Kazekage desk with Temari and Kankuro by his side. Congrats on becoming Kazekage, Gaara, Naruto said dully. So what's this about a mission? I can't even go on one. I'm a Leaf Genin and dead, Naruto said. Gaara nodded and reached into his desk. Yes, you are dead to Konoha, but only me, Kankuro, Temari, the doctor and a nurse know about you being alive, Gaara said. So if one more sand ninja joins the ranks, no one will be the wiser, he said. He then threw something at Naruto, who caught it. It was a Suna headband. As this, Naruto began, and Gaara nodded. You will be instated as a sand ninja, Gaara said, and Naruto began to tear up. You will be given a new name, a new life and a new home here in Suna, Gaara said. Thanks, Gaara. Naruto choked out. Naruto then tied the headband around his forehead. So what now, he asked, and Kankuro walked up with a piece of paper. Pour your chakra into this, Kankuro said. Naruto took the paper and did so. The paper then split in half and Kankuro smirked. Wind affinity. Perfect, Kankuro said. Perfect how? Naruto asked and Gaara spoke. Because now Temari is going to be your tutor, Gaara said. Yeah, I'm. Wait, what? Temari shouted. I've never taken on a student before, she said. The bad, you are one of the best wind users in Suna, Gaara said to a wide-eyed Temari, so you will teach him, he said, and Temari sighed. Okay, she said, defeated, making Naruto chuckle. Besides, Naruto has to learn to fight all over again. He can't go into battle with any of his jutsu, Gaara said, making Naruto confused. How? Why? Naruto asked. Because if anyone sees you using your clones, Rasengan, summoning jutsu, or anything else you know, then word will spread, and you will have Anbu and assassins after you, Gaara said, and Naruto nodded. Yeah, that's a good reason, Naruto said before looking at Temari. So when do we start, Temari-sensei? Naruto said with a half-hearted smile. Tomorrow morning, Temari said. You will be moving out of the hospital and living with us in our house. So, we will use the Kazekage training ground, she said, and Naruto nodded. Okay, thanks guys, I appreciate it, Naruto said. Gaara, Kankuro and Temari nodded. Let's get you home, kid, Kankuro said as he and Temari walked out with Naruto leaving Gaara alone. Let's see how this plays out, Gaara thought as he began to work on his new arch-enemy, paperwork. With Jiraiya. Jiraiya was in the woods eating dinner when a toad appeared. Lord Jiraiya, we haven't heard from you in a while. Are you okay? The toad asked, and Jiraiya shook his head. No, I'm not, Jiraiya said sadly. My apprentice Naruto is dead. I failed his parents in my job as a godparent, and he began until he was interrupted. He isn't dead, the toad said. If he was dead, then a red X would appear on the over his name in the scroll, but it hasn't happened yet, he said. Jiraiya wide-eyed then summoned out the toad contract scroll and looked inside. Naruto's name was still there, not crossed out. Jiraiya then closed up the scroll and stood up. Holy shit, Jiraiya said to the toad. He's alive, he said, not believing what he just discovered. Jiraiya then began to pack up camp, and once he was done, he picked up the toad and began to run off to the next town. If he's alive, I've got to find him. Jiraiya thought. I failed him once, I won't fail him again, Jiraiya thought as he ran at full speed now on a new mission. To find Naruto Uzumaki. Tsubaku no Kitsune. Chapter 3. Wave Country. With Jiraiya. So he hasn't come through here, Jiraiya asked Tazuna, the bridge builder who was sitting with his grandson Inari and daughter Tsunami. No, we haven't seen Naruto since him and his team left after the mission was over, Tazuna said, taking his cigarette out of his mouth. Damn shame. He saves a country, saves his village, kills a traitor, and gets fucked over, he said. Poor Naruto, Tsunami said, clutching her heart. He was such a sweet boy, he deserved so much better, she said. I'm sure he's still out there, Inari said. Naruto doesn't die easily, he's probably hiding at a farm or something. You know, starting a new life, he said. If he is, then good for him, Jiraiya said. I need to know, Jiraiya said, getting back up. Thanks for your help, I'm going north to check Kiri next, Jiraiya said. Please keep everything to yourselves and Tazuna, Jiraiya said. Yeah, what is it, Tazuna asked. In 1 year, the alliance with Konoha expires. Don't renew it, Jiraiya said. Konoha has been going downhill the last month or so since the incident. I don't want it to drag down wave 2, he said, and Tazuna nodded. Got it, Tazuna said, shaking Jiraiya's hand. Find Naruto, make sure he's okay. And if he isn't, then you bringing him here, I can get him a job and a house, he said, and Jiraiya nodded. Thanks folks, until we meet again, Jiraiya said as he began his journey once again. Okay, now time to check Kiri. It's a war zone. Maybe Naruto went there and started work as a mercenary, Jiraiya thought as he continued walking. And Suna. With Naruto and Temari. Blind style. Gale Palm, Naruto shouted as he sent a wall of wind towards a training post. The training post was then cut in multiple places. Naruto then took in a deep breath and nodded in satisfaction. How was that, Temari-sensei? Naruto said, looking at Temari, who blushed. You don't have to call me that, Naruto, Temari said bashfully. Temari is fine, and you did good, Temari said, and Naruto nodded with a small smile. Temari had been training Naruto over the past month and has been surprised by his progress. Naruto's chakra control was horrible, so the first 2 weeks consisted of him learning to cut leaves with his chakra. The next week is learning how to cut pebbles with chakra, and last week was Taijutsu training with their old sensei Baki. Naruto has slightly recovered from his ordeal but not completely. The usually cheerful Naruto wasn't around anymore. Naruto was now hiding his pain through fake smiles and keeping himself constantly busy. The doctors say it's probably depression, to which nobody could really blame him. Temari and Kankuro have been spending the most time with him, as Gaara is busy with being Kazekage. They have helped Naruto not feel alone, but they can tell he's still hurting inside. So, what now, Temari-sensei? Naruto said, trying to sound eager. Temari then took out a small fan from her waistband and threw it at Naruto, who caught it. I'm going to teach you how to use your new wind chakra through a fan, Temari said with a smile. Well, wind-style jutsu is common here in Suna. Not many people know how to use a battle fan. In fact, other than me there is probably about 20 or so other users in the whole village, she said. "So how do I do it?" Naruto asked with actual genuine excitement. Temari felt relief as now a little more of the old Naruto was coming out. "Okay, watch me, okay," Temari said, putting down her large battle fan and taking out another smaller fan. Temari then stood next to Naruto and got into a stance. Temari then brought the fan behind her back and began to channel wind chakra through the fan. Temari then swung the small fan and released a small blade of wind at another training post. The blade of wind hit the post and a gash 6 inches deep into the wooden post. "Wow, and that was with a little fan too," Naruto said, surprised. Temari chuckled and put her fan away. "Once you master the small fan it will make using the bigger fans a lot easier," Temari said. "Now you give it a try," Temari said. Naruto nodded and went in front of Temari. Naruto then got into a similar stance as Temari and proceeded to push his chakra through his fan. Naruto then swung his fan and released a blade of wind. However, instead of going to the training post, it missed by a couple feet to the left. Naruto then sweat dropped and rubbed the back of his head. "Whoops, I missed," he said bashfully. Temari chuckled. "It's okay, it takes a lot of practice and you have to get the release right," she said. "Here, let me help you," Temari said, and Naruto nodded. Temari then went directly behind Naruto and grabbed his arm at one hand and his other arm with the other. "You got to both move your arm and your body at the same time. The power not only comes from the chakra, but also the speed of your fan," Temari said, going through the motions with Naruto. Temari," Naruto asked. Temari perked as Naruto finally dropped the sensei. "Yeah," Temari said as she continued going through the motions with him. Not that I don't like you teaching," Naruto said, "but your boobies are pressing against the back of my head," he said. Temari then went wide-eyed and looked down and saw she was basically right up against a blushing Naruto. Temari then jumped back with a blush. "Why didn't you tell me before, jerk?" Temari shouted. Naruto then turned around with his face red. "How is this my fault?" Naruto shouted back. "It's your fault for putting your boobies against the back of my head," he said with a huff. "Stop saying boobies, you idiot," Temari shouted and Naruto stuck his tongue out. Gaara and Kankuro were sitting on the roof of a nearby building, watching both Naruto and Temari bicker. "They are a lot alike," Kankuro said, "both blonde, loud and headstrong. They seem like two peas in a pod," he said. "Temari has been bringing back the old Naruto little by little. Gaara said it will take time for him to heal, but for now it seems like he's making good progress," he said, getting back up. "I hope that training with you will help him along as well," Gaara said. "He may not be able to use puppets, but I have an idea on how to train him," Kankuro said, and Gaara nodded before disappearing in a swirl of sand. Kankuro then looked back at Naruto and Temari as they stopped arguing and began training again. In Konoha. With Sakura and Kakashi. Sakura Haruno was focusing chakra into her hand as Kakashi-sensei stood by. "That's it, keeps on focusing," he said, and Sakura growled. Just then a small cone of lightning began to form around her hand as light chirping began to echo. Sakura tried to increase the output but couldn't, and Kakashi could see that. "Okay, now go aim for the training post," Kakashi said, and Sakura began to run at full speed at the training post. Sakura then jumped using the momentum to come down. "Midori," Sakura shouted as she drove the jutsu into the wooden training post. Sakura's hand only went in 4 inches. Sakura pulled her hand out and cursed. "Damn it," she said. "Sasuke could punch through a water tower, and Naruto could blow it out from the other side," she said, and Kakashi interjected. "It's not bad, Sakura," Kakashi said, walking closer. "The Chidori is not an easy technique to learn. It took Sasuke a month to learn it. And he had both a bloodline and immense chakra reserves. You are doing it on sheer grit and determination," he said with an eye smile. Sakura then fell onto her butt and huffed. "Ninjutsu training with you, Jinjutsu training with Kurenai-sensei and medical training with Lady Tsunade and Shizune. It's exhausting," she said, wiping her brow. "How long do you sleep?" Kakashi asked curiously. 4 hours every night," Sakura said, surprising Kakashi. "I've never put in a lot of effort in my training. With how I was in Wave, the Chunin exams, the invasion and Sasuke leaving, I realized how much of a joke I was," she said. "I'm going to bust my ass trying to be the best I can," Sakura said. "Getting back up, I have to for Naruto," Sakura said, and Kakashi smiled. "Well, I think that's enough for today, Sakura," Kakashi said. "Let's go get something to eat," he said, and Sakura nodded and both left the training ground. Konoha streets. Sakura and Kakashi both walked into Ichiraku Ramen and sat down. "Hey Mr. Tucci," Sakura said, and both father and daughter turned. "Hey Sakura, Kakashi, do you two want the usual?" asked, and they both nodded. "Yep, 2 Naruto specials," Kakashi said, and Tucci nodded. "Gotcha, give me 10 minutes, Tucci said as he went to work making the food. Since Naruto's death, Sakura and Kakashi have been coming to Ichiraku's a lot more often. They don't know why, but they feel closer to Naruto at his favorite restaurant. "Hello Sakura," came a voice. Sakura then turned around and saw Ino there with a scowl on her face. Ever since Naruto dying, Ino has been hostile towards everyone who liked Naruto. She was different as she joined a different shinobi branch that was started up. She no longer wore her girly and purple outfits, she not wore a black Anbu uniform that gave Kakashi bad memories. "Fuck off Ino," Sakura said with a scowl of her own. "I told you I don't want nothing to do with you or Shikamaru," she said. You are living in the past, Sakura Ino said. It's best if you leave it behind along with that blonde retard you call A. Ino began until Kakashi rose up and held her by the throat up against a wall. If you keep on spouting that crap, I'll kill you, got it, he said with anger in his voice. Ino nodded and was let go. Get the fuck out of my sight, he said, and Ino walked away with a scowl on her face. Kakashi sat back down and looked at the stunned AM and Tucci. Sorry about that, Kakashi said, and both father and daughter nodded. Tucci then put the food down in front of both Sakura and Kakashi. Kakashi pulled down his mask, began eating, trying to forget what just happened. Kakashi then turned and saw a stunned Sakura. Sakura, are you okay? Why aren't you eating, he asked. Sakura then pointed at him. No mask, Sakura said in awe. I can see you. Your face, she said, and Kakashi realized he made a mistake. Oh crap, I didn't put on the genjutsu, Kakashi said with a groan. Sensei, Sakura said, still wide-eyed. I had no idea you were hot. I thought you had blimp lips or buck teeth, she said, making Kakashi sweat drop. Gee thanks, Kakashi said as he continued eating his food. Then Suna. With Kankuro and Naruto. Naruto finished putting on a gauntlet to his right arm and tightened down the strap. Okay, it's on. Now what, Naruto asked, and Kankuro smiled. Now you are going to pump a little chakra into it, Kankuro said, and Naruto nodded. Naruto then proceeded to pump chakra into the gauntlet. A 10-inch blade then came out of the gauntlet, making Naruto jump back. Holy shit, Naruto shouted, much to Kankuro's amusement. How did that happen, he asked. That gauntlet is something I made from spare puppet parts, Kankuro said. It uses chakra-powered spring mechanisms to launch the blade out. You can still do it manually if you have no chakra, Kankuro said. Naruto then released his chakra and the blade popped back in. That's pretty sweet, Naruto said. Just then Kankuro then summoned out a puppet. Okay, now for some sparring. Let's see what you got, Kankuro said. You ready, he said. Naruto nodded and brought out his blade. Let's go, Naruto said with a smirk. Kankuro sent his crow puppet towards Naruto. Naruto dodged the puppet and began swinging his blade, trying to sever the chakra strings connected to it. Naruto was then smacked across the face by the extendable arms of the puppet. Not deterred in the slightest, Naruto recovered and jumped back in order to gain distance. Naruto then took out his small fan and held it in his left hand. Naruto charged up the fan and then released a blade of wind. Kankuro, seeing this, smirked as he moved Crow away at the last minute. Impressive, using combined arms to fight, Kankuro thought as he resumed his attack. Kankuro then once more sent Crow at Naruto. Naruto waited for Crow to get within range and then jumped over it. Naruto then spun in midair, swinging his blade. Naruto then cut the chakra strings, making the puppet fall to the ground. Naruto then ran towards Kankuro, putting away his weapons. Kankuro then balled up his fists and got into his boxing stance. Kankuro then threw several punches at Naruto, who ducked and weaved. Naruto then countered with his own punch to the gut and then an uppercut to the jaw. Kankuro then fell on his butt and Naruto stood over him, his fist an inch away from Kankuro's face. You yield, Naruto asked, and Kankuro nodded. I give, Kankuro said, and Naruto helped him get back up. Good job, Kitty said, and Naruto smiled. Thanks, Kankuro, Naruto said, rubbing the back of his head. Just then his stomach growled and Naruto chuckled. Hey, wanna go and eat something, Naruto asked. Sure, chicken teriyaki, Kankuro asked, and Naruto nodded. Sounds good, Naruto said. Kankuro then resealed up his puppet and Naruto put on a hinge to hide his identity. Both boys exited the training ground to go eat lunch. Later that night, Temari got out of bed to get a drink of water and was walking back to her room. As she was walking back to her room, she heard the sound of crying. She listened and followed the sound. Upon reaching it, she saw it was coming from Naruto's room. Temari opened the door and saw Naruto in his bed crying in his sleep. She quickly walked over and placed her drink on the nightstand next to the bed. Naruto, wake up, Temari said, shaking the boy. Naruto then woke up in a fright and Temari held her hands up. Naruto, it's okay, it's me, Temari, she said. Oh, hey Temari, Naruto said, wiping his tears. What are you doing here, he asked, sniffling. I heard you crying. What's wrong, Temari asked, worried. Naruto stuttered. I've been having nightmares, Naruto admitted. It's different every night, me killing Sasuke, Zabuza killing my team, fighting Orochimaru and Kabuto, all my old friends wanting to kill me, Naruto said, whimpering. I can't get them out of my head. They've been happening ever since I came here. They won't stop, he said. The ones where my old friends are trying to kill me are the worst, he said. Temari began to feel her heart break for the boy. Unlike Gaara, he had people who cared about him. The feelings he had about them must be devastating. Naruto, Temari said softly, sitting down next to him. Not everybody hates you. Me and my brothers, we all care about you, she said, and Naruto nodded. And back in Konoha you had people who cared even after what happened, she said. Sakura, your sensei, the Hokage, that Hyuga girl, the two weirdos in spandex with the thick eyebrows. They all never blamed you for what happened, she said, and Naruto chuckled. Lee and Guy sensei, Naruto said, shaking his head. No surprise there. Those two are too youthful to turn on someone blindly, he said, making Temari chuckle. Thanks, Temari. I appreciate it, he said. You can go back to bed now, he said, and Temari shook her head. No, move over, Temari said. Naruto hesitated and then did so. Temari then crawled into bed with Naruto. Temari then wrapped her arm around Naruto and held him close, his head resting on her shoulder. What are you doing, Temari? Naruto asked confused, and Temari began to stroke his hair. My mother used to do this to me and Kankuro whenever we had nightmares, she said softly. Why, she asked. I've never been held like this before, he said, which made Temari frown. Don't worry, Naruto, Temari said. I'll do this until those nightmares stop happening, she said. Thanks, Temari, Naruto said as he wrapped his arms around Temari. Temari kept stroking his hair until he fell asleep. Temari looked down at the snoring boy and a small smile appeared on her face. He looked so cute, she thought. Temari then closed her eyes and fell asleep. The next morning, Naruto, Temari and Kankuro were all standing in the Kazukiage office in front of Gaara. Gaara was sitting in front of them with a scroll in front of them. Gaara was currently looking at Naruto. Naruto over the past month has ditched his orange jumpsuit for desert clothing. Naruto wore light tan pants, a light brown shirt with a dark brown jacket and black sandals. He wore his new Suna headband around his forehead, and around his neck was a black and orange shema face covering that he used to hide his identity in public. However, he took it off in front of Gaara, Kankuro, Temari and Baki. Naruto, Kankuro, I called you here because I have a mission for the two of you, Gaara said, and Naruto and Kankuro looked surprised. Just the two of us, Kankuro asked. Usually a full team gets sent out, Kankuro said, and Gaara nodded. True, but for this mission, which is a B-rank assassination mission, we will only need the two of you, Gaara said, handing a scroll to Kankuro. Kankuro opened it and read it along with Naruto. When they were done, both looked confused. Are you fucking kidding me? Naruto asked, and Gaara nodded. Yes, it's completely serious, Gaara said, and Temari looked confused. What's wrong with the mission, she asked, and Naruto looked at her. Some daimyo's wife is being plowed by some dude and he want him dead, Naruto said, which made Temari go wide-eyed. Seriously, why would we have a mission like that? It's totally beneath us, she said, and Gaara groaned. We took a lot of casualties due to the invasion of Konoha, Gaara said. We must take any mission that gives us an opportunity to make money. I literally gave the Genin team a mission to help out old people in a nursing home in a neighboring country, he said. Naruto shuddered. Oh god, I hated those missions. Old people suck, he said, and Temari looked at him. Oh, come on, taking care of old people can't be that bad, Temari said. Flashback, Naruto helped an old blind man back into his bed. There you go. I hope you have a good sleep tonight, he said and smiled. See, Naruto, this is why I like you, said. You're such a well-mannered, good-natured, white boy, he said, making Naruto's eyes widen. Unlike those monkeys from Kumo, he said. No, Naruto said softly. Those tar donkeys, those mud possums, I can't stand them, said. Naruto quietly left the room. Naruto then promised himself to never work with old people again. Flashback end. And the racism wasn't even the worst part, Naruto said, with all three Sand siblings looking at him wide-eyed. Did you know how many old people we had to treat for STDs? I swear old people are gross, he said as she shuddered. Oh god, Temari said. Anyway, Gaara said, getting back on track, you have your mission. Just kill him and get it over with, he said. Both Naruto and Kankuro nodded and walked out. A few hours later, Naruto and Kankuro left Suna to carry out their mission. Okay, banging another dude's wife is wrong, but it's not something to kill someone over, Naruto thought. There has to be another way. I can't live with myself if I do kill him, he thought. Naruto and Kankuro trekked their way across the desert to start their mission. Tsubaku no Kitsune. Chapter 4. Land of Rivers, Border Town. Renji cracked his neck as he took out his keys and put them into the lock of his home. He turned the key, unlocking the door, and entered the small house. Renji dropped his keys into a dish by the door and began to walk to his room. He then took out a joint and lit it with a match and began to puff. Renji was in his mid-40s but was still decently built for his age. He may not have been the stud he used to be, but he was still quite a looker. As he continued through the house, he saw that a window was slightly open. He then walked over, closed and locked it. Renji then walked over to his bedroom and was about to lie down until he heard a voice. Hey, Renji, right, a voice said. Renji turned around and saw a figure wearing a black pants, a gray hoodie, orange ski mask and sunglasses. By his guess, the person was between the ages of 13 to 16 because of their height. Renji nodded at the figure, and the figure sighed in relief. Okay, great. If it weren't you, then this would be pretty awkward. The figure said, okay, so here's the deal, I was hired to kill you. But I'm not going to do that, the figure said. Renji high of his joint listened dumbly as the intruder spoke. Do you have any family out of country, the figure asked. A sister in Kusa, Renji said, and the intruder nodded. Good, he said. Now here's the thing. I need you to disappear for like a year, he said, and Renji nodded. I have my partner outside in a wagon. We will drive you over to the train station, he said. You may see us argue about why you are still alive. I got it totally covered, no need to worry, he said with a smile shown only through the hole in the ski mask. Okay dude, let's go pack some stuff, he said, and Renji nodded. Renji began to walk over to a door on the opposite side of the room. He opened it and walked in. The intruder followed him in the room and was in awe. Inside the room was shelves upon shelves of trophies and awards. karate, judo, jujutsu, kendo and even a lightweight sumo trophy. Hey, whose trophies are these? The intruder asked. Renji then raised up his hand while going through his closet, getting several duffel bags. Oh, that's cool, the intruder said. I don't have any trophies myself, but when I was a little kid, I used to hang out at this old boxing gym down the street from the orphanage I grew up at, he said. The old dude there taught me basic boxing, grappling and other things like that, nothing that will win awards, but something to help me defend myself, he said. Renji got his stuff and began to walk back to his room to begin packing once more. The intruder then saw a picture of Renji with a second place trophy and a familiar bushy eyebrow spandex wearing Jonin who looked 20 years younger. Hey guy sensei, what do you know? The intruder thought. Small world, he thought as he put down the picture and walked back over to Renji. So, Kusa, never been there before, the intruder said. I've been to wave, snow and waterfall, he said as Renji packed. Yeah, they were all pretty cool, except for all the times me or my friends almost got killed, he said with a chuckle. One time in wave I the intruder began before being kicked in the chest by Renji and sent flying into a door. The intruder hit the door, splitting it in half and smacking his head on the wall. Renji approached and kicked him lightly on the leg to see if he was still awake. Renji then walked over to the other side of the bedroom and picked up the landline. He then dialed the numbers for the police and held the phone up to his ear. Hello, Renji said. Just then the intruder got back up and knocked the phone out of Renji's hand. Renji retaliated by punching the assailant in the face. The assailant then grabbed the arm that just punched him and pulled Renji down. He kneed Renji in the gut while driving an elbow down into his collarbone. Both fighters backed away, breathing heavily as they tried to gather their thoughts. Renji then sent a fast round kick that connected with the intruder's ribs. He then used the same leg to kick the intruder in the face, however, the intruder grabbed his leg and held him. Renji began to punch and elbow the intruder to get free from the hold. Fuck you, the intruder shouted. The intruder then punched Renji in the throat, making the man fall backwards and begin gaping for air. You ready to stop now? The intruder asked, and Renji got back up. Oh shit, he said as he was tackled by Renji and went back first into a cabinet. Renji then kneed the intruder in the ribs and attempted to punch the intruder in the face, but his fist was caught. The intruder then punched Renji in the gut before slugging him across the jaw. Renji then went down and picked up the intruder by the waist. Renji then slammed the intruder on the ground, cracking the tiles and making him cough up blood. Renji, now barely sucking in air from his collapsed windpipe, began to exit the room to go to his trophy room. The intruder got back up slowly. Oh my neck, he whined as he got back up. As he walked into the trophy room, he saw Renji standing there with a pair of nunchucks in both his hands. Renji, look dude, he said, bleeding heavily from his ski mask. Your throat is fucked, you're stoned, just stop man, you haven't done anything I can't forgive, he said. Renji then charged at him and swung the nunchuck at him. The intruder dodged the first swing, but did not dodge the second one, which caught him on the knee. The intruder fell to the ground, and Renji began to savagely beat him with both nunchucks for several seconds until he stopped. Renji then fell to the ground struggling for air. With a few strained breaths he fell still and stopped breathing altogether. The intruder then got up slowly off the ground once more and looked over to Renji. The intruder then took off his mask, revealing Naruto Uzumaki, with his face swollen and bloody from the fight. Holy shit, he said through his busted lip. Naruto then went over and felt for a pulse and didn't find one. I gave you a chance, dude. Don't blame me, he said as he began to walk to the front of the house, his mouth region covered in blood. As he went to the front door, he heard it click shut. A little 8-year-old girl with a karate guy and a yellow belt looked on in fear at Naruto. Dad, she said worried. Oh fuck, Naruto thought. Daddy, she shouted as she ran to the bedroom past Naruto. Naruto was half tempted to just walk out of the house, but stopped himself. I can't just leave her, he said to himself. Naruto began to walk back to the bedroom. Little girl, he said softly as he entered. I'm not going to hurt you, he said. He began until he looked around and did not see her. Where did you? He began until something landed on his back. The little girl jumped on his back from the ceiling where she was hiding. She then stabbed Naruto in the back with the sai. Her dad won at a tournament. Ah shit, Naruto shouted as he grabbed the girl from behind him. He then threw her off him to a wall. He swiftly took out the sai and threw it on the ground. The girl twisted in midair and landed on the wall with her feet. She then springboarded off the wall and went back to Naruto, where she kicked him across the face. Naruto saw stars as he just got kicked. The little girl then exited the room and Naruto followed. As he entered the kitchen area, he was hit in the head by a can of soup that the little girl picked up. Naruto then started dodging all kind of miscellaneous objects being thrown by the girl. Everything from canned food to butcher knives to a meat cleaver. The girl then grabbed a cast iron skillet and ran at Naruto. Naruto started dodging the wild swings from the little girl as she tried to hit him. Fuck this, Naruto shouted as he caught the skillet and disarmed the girl. He then slapped her across the face, sending her to the ground. Knock it off, he shouted. The little girl then began to cry and Naruto realized what he just did. He hit a little girl who was trying to kill him because he killed her father. Before Naruto could do anything else, the little girl kicked him in the nuts and ran out the back door. Naruto, in pain, watched as she hopped over the back fence of the house and ran out of sight. What the fuck, he said as he saw the little girl run away. Naruto then went back and picked up the ski mask and walked out the front door. He walked across the street of the suburban neighborhood and surprisingly no one heard the commotion in the house. Kankuro was sitting in the wagon they were using for the mission. No one was to know they were ninja in case they were discovered, so the use of chakra and other ninja weapons were forbidden. Both even had chakra seals placed on them, as the police were trained to sense for any chakra present at a crime scene. Kankuro didn't have on his face paint nor his suit, as he was wearing only jeans and a green hoodie to not stand out. He looked to the side and saw a badly beaten Naruto walking towards the wagon. Kankuro opened the door and let him in. "Holy shit, Naruto, what happened?" Kankuro asked, and Naruto slumped in the passenger seat. "The client should have told us he was a martial arts master," Naruto said weakly. "He kicked my ass pretty bad. If I had chakra I could have done better. I bet even a Chunin level ninja would have taken a beating as well," he said. "Damn, one guy did this to you," he said, and Naruto shook his head. "No," he said, "his daughter also got some good hits in," he said, and Kankuro went wide-eyed. "Did she see your face?" he asked, and Naruto nodded. "Fuck," he shouted. "We have to kill her now," he said, making Naruto go wide-eyed. No, Naruto said. "I already killed some asshole for plowing another guy's wife. I'm not sure, but Kami is probably not looking too kindly on that. Although it was mostly self-defense," he said. "We are not killing his daughter," Naruto said. "Let's patch me up, find her, drug her and dump her at the police station," Naruto said. Kankuro grunted. "Fuck. Fine," he said as he hit the reins and the horses began to pull the wagon. Naruto then leaned back and blacked out. Naruto's mindscape. The nine-tailed fox looked down at his unconscious vessel with disdain. "Foolish mortal, showing compassion to the enemy is how you get killed," he said to Naruto. "I can still heal you, but what would be the point if you don't learn your lesson," it said as it chuckled. Naruto was still laying on the ground of his mindscape as he had a dream. Naruto was sitting at a breakfast table with Gaara and Kankuro. All were chatting away until someone walked beside them. "Okay, you three," Temari said with a smile. "Time for breakfast. No bitching or moaning," she said, and Naruto began to chuckle. "Thanks, Temari," Naruto said. "I don't care what your brothers say. You really are caring and girly," he said, and Temari chuckled. "Thanks, Naruto." "Hey," Temari shouted to both Gaara and Kankuro. "What do you mean? I'm girly? I'm no Mary Poppins, but I'm still a girl, you asshat," she said, and Naruto began to chuckle as Temari began to yell at and chastise her two brothers. "Calm down, Temari," Naruto said. "They didn't mean anything by it," he said, and she huffed. She then leaned down and gave him a kiss on the cheek, making him blush. "You're lucky you're special to me," she said, and Naruto chuckled. "You're special to me too, Temari," Naruto said, "and so are Gaara and Kankuro. Don't any of you forget that," he said. All four then sat down and began to eat breakfast. "In the real world, Naruto, wake up," Kankuro said, shaking him awake. Naruto opened his eyes and saw they were at a grocery store. "I'm going in for stuff. What do you need again?" he asked, and Naruto looked at him like he was an idiot. "A needle and thread," Naruto shouted. "Okay, yeah, my bad," Kankuro said, embarrassed. "For stitches," Naruto shouted. Okay, Kankuro said. "Because I'm dying," Naruto shouted, and Kankuro nodded. "Okay, be right back," Kankuro said as he ran inside the store. Naruto leaned back with a sigh. "Fuck this mission," he thought. A few minutes later, Kankuro came back with a needle and thread, peroxide, superglue and a bandage for Naruto. After a hasty patch job, both Naruto and Kankuro went looking for the little girl. At night, both Naruto and Kankuro were driving the wagon around the town, trying to look for the little girl. "We haven't found shit," Naruto said weakly. As he adjusted himself in his seat, he felt his stitches rip. "Oh, crap, that hurts," Naruto shined out. Kankuro stopped the wagon and turned Naruto around. "Here, let me apply another helping of glue," Kankuro said as he put more glue over the wound and rubbed it in with his hand. Naruto winced at the pain. Kankuro then put on a bandage and grabbed the reins again. "Okay, now we got to," Kankuro began until there was a thud on the roof of the covered wagon. Both boys looked at each other. "It's her," Naruto shouted, and Kankuro felt fear. Kankuro then began to drive the wagon at a fast speed down the road. After a few seconds he pulled the brake lever and stopped the wagon. Both boys were breathing heavily from the fear. Okay, looks like it wasn't her," Naruto said as he turned over to Kankuro, who had a wide-eyed look. "Naruto, you," Kankuro began until the little girl came down from the roof and bit Kankuro's face. She was breathing hard and rapidly as she held on Naruto. "Kill her," Kankuro said, and Naruto looked at him. "Just take her off," Naruto said, and Kankuro started sweating. "I can't, the glue was on my hands, and now I can't take them off the reins," Kankuro said, and Naruto looked at him in shock. "So man the fuck up and murder this little shit," Kankuro said. Just then the little girl tore a chunk of flesh off Kankuro's cheek and hopped off the wagon. Kankuro was now screaming in pain as Naruto screamed in horror. The little girl, with a mouth full of blood, then screamed a blood-curdling feral scream at the two boys before disappearing off into the night. Both boys looked at the disappearing feral girl, and Kankuro began to shake. "What the fuck are you?" Kankuro yelled. Back at the grocery store, Kankuro stopped the wagon and Naruto hopped out. Fucking go. I don't want to be stuck here all night, Kankuro said, and Naruto nodded. Okay, be right back, Naruto said as he ran into the store. Naruto entered the store throwing his hood up as to not be recognized. Naruto quickly went to the medicine aisle and began to look around for medical supplies and something to remove the glue from Kankuro. As Naruto was looking, he heard wheezing coming from the end of the aisle. Naruto turned and saw Renji alive and putting on a neck brace. Naruto went wide-eyed and spoke. Renji. Naruto whispered, hey man, I was the guy in your house, Naruto said quietly. Listen dude, we got off on the wrong foot, so let's. Naruto began until Renji attempted to kick him. Renji, stop, we can still make a deal, come on dude, are you going to fight me in a store, Naruto said, and Renji attempted to punch him, but Naruto ducked in time. Hey guys, a grocery clerk said walking up, please no fighting, and he began until Renji kicked the man in the head, breaking his neck and killing him. Renji then charged at Naruto with anger and rage in his eyes. Oh shit, Naruto said. Kankuro was sitting outside when he saw dozens of people flee out of the grocery store. What the hell, Kankuro said as he looked inside the store. He then saw both Naruto and the target fighting each other with meat cleavers that they took from the butcher shop. Naruto, you fucking idiot, Kankuro shouted. Naruto dodged another slash from Renji and countered with a slash of his own. Renji blocked it with his cleaver and both became interlocked. Renji then kicked Naruto and ripped both cleavers apart. Naruto, seeing this, hopped back over the butcher counter and grabbed a butcher knife and a meat hook. Naruto then jumped back over the counter and re-engaged. Naruto slashed at Renji with a butcher knife, who promptly sidestepped. Renji slashed with both cleavers and scored a hit on Naruto's ribs. Naruto winced as his blood spilled on the floor. Renji then slashed again with the other cleaver, but Naruto used his meat hook to catch it. Naruto then disarmed Renji of his weapon and moved it. Naruto then drove the butcher knife into Renji's neck, making him gargle on his own blood. Naruto then took the meat cleaver and ran it through Renji's temple. Renji then fell to the ground dead. Naruto ran back over to the butcher counter, grabbed another knife and ran outside. Naruto ran to the wagon and opened up Kankuro's door and cut the reins from his hands. Leave the wagon, let's go, Naruto said, and Kankuro nodded. Both boys escaped the area as the police arrived. 16 hours later. Suna. Temari was getting ready for bed as per usual. As she got out of her room to go take a shower, she saw a bloody and beaten Naruto. Then Naruto. Temari asked concerned what she stammered out. The mission is done, Naruto said through swollen lips. Kankuro's with Gaara, I went to the hospital and I want to take a shower, he said. Temari nodded and Naruto entered the bathroom. After 15 minutes and several yelps of pain, Naruto exited to see Temari still in the same spot. Your turn, he said, and Temari shook her head. I'm good, I'll take one in the morning, she said, and Naruto nodded. Temari, can I ask you something, Naruto asked weakly, and the girl looked at him. Yeah, Naruto, Temari said softly. Can I sleep with you tonight, he said, his eyes half closed. I don't want to be alone and I haven't slept in 2 days, he said, and Temari nodded. Okay, that's fine, she said as she grabbed his hand and led him to her room. Upon entering, Naruto saw that Temari's room was very girly. From her big bed full of stuffed animals to the pink color of the walls and even her posters of boy bands. I knew Kankuro and Gaara were full of shit, Naruto said with a weak smile. You are really girly, he said with a small chuckle, and Temari blushed. Don't make fun of me, Temari said, and Naruto nodded. I wasn't, Naruto said, I'm just glad I get to see your softer side, he said, and Temari looked at him not knowing how to respond. Come on, Temari said as she dragged Naruto over to her bed and opened the covers for him. Naruto hopped in and Temari followed. Naruto immediately grabbed onto her and held her close. Don't let me go, Naruto said softly. Temari wrapped her arms around Naruto and pulled him in closer. I won't, Naruto, she said softly as well. Thanks, Temari, Naruto said before he kissed her cheek, making her blush. You are really precious to me, don't forget it, Naruto said. Temari's eyes widened at this, and before she could ask what he meant, he fell asleep. I'm precious to him, Temari thought. She then brushed it aside and closed her eyes. I'll ask him what he meant later, she thought. Both Naruto and Temari fell asleep in each other's arms, both finding comfort in each other's company. Meanwhile, Land of Rivers border town. The next day, Jiraiya entered the border town to see it on lockdown. What the hell happened here, he wondered. After going through a checkpoint, he walked along the deserted street at all the closed up shops. He was just passing through to head to Iwa to check on an informant who may have some info on Naruto if he headed that way. As he walked, he saw a wanted poster. He walked up and read it. Wanted. 2 unknown fugitives responsible for the murder of Renji Oda. Last seen heading to the K's no Kuni via stolen wagon, considered armed and extremely dangerous. Suspect 1. Age 14 to 18, hair. Brown, eyes. Brown, height. 165 to 167 centimeters. Last seen stealing a wagon and a team of horses and heading to K's no Kuni. No prominent features. Suspect 2. Age 12 to 15, hair. Blonde, eyes. Blue, height 145 to 147 centimeters, last seen escaping with suspect 1 Take's no Kuni, responsible for the murder of Renji Oda. Has several horizontal face tattoos. Jiraiya was looking at the rough sketches of the two suspects. Suspect 1 looked like no one he knew, but Suspect 2 had a similar look to Naruto. In Jiraiya's mind, too many red flags were popping up for this to be a coincidence. Jiraiya looked around and pocketed the poster. Land of Rivers has no ties to Konoha, and this town is so small it won't be big news anywhere, so, this info is going to be isolated, he thought. Looks like I'm heading to Suna, he thought as he changed directions and began walking again. Naruto, what the hell have you gotten into, he thought. Once he exited the town, he began to run full speed to Suna. He finally found a solid lead. Chapter 5. Hello everyone, I'm back once again to bring you another chapter of my story. If you are enjoying it, please keep on supporting me and my other stories. Okay, now with nothing more to say, let's begin. Tsubaku no Kitsune. Chapter 5. Hazakage Mansion. With Gaara, Kankuro and Temari, the three Sand siblings were all sitting at the dining room table looking at a sight that they were not expecting. Naruto Uzumaki was making breakfast with a smile on his swollen bandaged face while singing. I do not own this song, Slipknot does. And the rain will kill us all, throw ourselves against the wall but no one else can, see the preservation of the martyr in me. Psychosocial, 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 psychosocial. All three siblings were looking at him in confusion. Naruto Temari spoke up. Are you okay, she asked gently. Naruto turned to her with a wide and creepy smile. Of course Temari, he said, sending chills down her spine. I'm fine, everything is fine. I appreciate your concern, he said, and Temari smiled awkwardly and nodded. She then turned to her brothers. Okay, what the hell, Temari whispered. When I woke up this morning, he was folding my cloths that I left in the dryer last night, then he asked me if I want a foot massage, she said, and Kankuro leaned in. I think he's mental, Kankuro said in a whisper as well. I think after all the crap he's been through over the past month and the mission we got back from has taken its toll on him, he said, taking a look at Naruto in the kitchen. I think he's pretty close to the edge, Kankuro said, so he's trying to act like everything is normal, he said. Just then all three siblings turned and looked over to Naruto to see him putting the food on plates and walk them over. I hope you all like pancakes, Naruto said in a sing-song voice as he placed the plates of food in front of the three Sand siblings. It consisted of 2 pancakes with blueberry eyes, banana nose and bacon smile. I hope you all love it, I made it special, Naruto said, keeping his smile on, and I love you all, he said. We love you too, Naruto, Temari said, patting his shoulder and smiling. Naruto began to eat his food and Temari shot a look at Gaara, who immediately knew what the look was. Fix him, damn it, Temari shouted with her eyes. Okay, I'll think of something, Gaara responded with a look of his own. Damn, these are good pancakes, Kankuro said, eating his food and receiving looks from Temari and Gaara. What, I'm hungry, he said as he shrugged it off. With Jiraiya. Jiraiya was walking through the desert to Suna. As he did, he wiped the sweat from his brow and continued walking. I'm sweating like a whore in church, Jiraiya thought. Naruto, you better be in Suna. I'd hate to have walked all this way to find your long-lost brother, he thought. Just then he saw the stone walls of Suna. Finally, Jiraiya said with relief. Now then, let's dig up some info, he said as he walked to the front gates. Hazakage office. With Gaara and Temari. What the fuck, Temari shouted as he paced around the office, sending an emotionally damaged boy on an assassination mission. What the hell were we thinking, she said. Gaara behind his desk rubbed his temples. When you put it like that, I think I should have sent him on that mission to help the elderly, Gaara said with a sigh. Well, too late now, we need to salvage him, Temari, Gaara said, gaining her attention. I rather not have Naruto confined to the mansion 24/7 or put him in a mental asylum, Gaara said. I just hope that Kankuro can keep him occupied while we try to figure out this mess, he said. Just then the buzzer for the front desk came to life. Lord Kazakage, you have a distinguished visitor here to see you, the secretary at the front desk said. Gaara pushed the buzzer and spoke. Send them up, Gaara said with a sigh. It's probably the daimyo here to pay for the mission, he said. At least Naruto will have more money in his pocket, Gaara said. Just then the door opened up and came in Jiraiya. Lord Gaara, Jiraiya said, making both Gaara and Temari go wide-eyed. I'm here for business relating to a certain issue. Can we all talk in private, he said, and Gaara nodded. Jiraiya then went through hand signs and put up a privacy seal. Okay, this is going to sound a little strange, so you need to hear me out, Jiraiya said, and both Gaara and Temari nodded. Very well, what is it, Gaara asked, not giving a hint of emotion. Jiraiya took in a deep breath. I have reason to believe Naruto is in Suna, he said. Both Gaara and Temari got looks of surprise, and Jiraiya nodded. How did he find out, Temari wondered. Kankuro left no trace in Konoha, she thought. This is bad, Gaara thought. I can't let him leave Suna. He might just. He began until Jiraiya spoke again. I believe that Naruto is working with some kind of criminal organization and has been hiring himself out as a hitman, Jiraiya said, and both Temari and Gaara looked at him. What, Temari asked confused, and Jiraiya nodded. Yes, Jiraiya said. I believe Naruto was responsible for a contract killing of a man in a village along the border. He and his accomplice both ran away and came here to Suna to hide, he said, and the two Sand siblings looked at him. Is he an idiot? Temari thought. Now I know this is a mighty big pill to swallow, but it's true, Jiraiya said. I need your help to find Naruto and stop him. He's a good kid and I don't need to see him go down this path, he said, and Temari spoke up. And if he's here, what are you going to do? Temari asked. Are you going to take him back to Konoha? I heard about how they celebrated his death, she said, not giving Jiraiya any indication. Fuck no, Jiraiya said, making their eyes go wide. I'm taking him to wave with me. He deserves a new life considering all the shit he's been through, he said. I got it all planned out, Jiraiya said, taking out his notepad. We both move to a house and wave. We both become fishermen. I train Naruto to be able to protect himself. Naruto gets married to local girl and have kids. I grow old and die, and Naruto buries me and tells his grandkids about me, Jiraiya said, closing his book and looking at the Temari and Gaara with a face that reads, this can totally work. Gaara and Temari both looked at each other and both nodded. Okay, we will help you, but on one condition. Temari said. You promise that nothing goes back to Konoha, she said, and Jiraiya nodded. Konoha is dead to me. You got my word, Jiraiya said with complete honesty. Now when do you want to begin, he said, and Gaara sighed. Okay, very well, Gaara said, taking in a deep breath. Naruto is here in Suna. We took him from the hospital to save his life. He's living in our house. I sent him on the mission to kill that man, and Naruto is back at the house having a mental breakdown, Gaara said with a straight face. Jiraiya stood there stone-faced for a few seconds. What? Jiraiya shouted, nearly making Temari's eardrums burst. He's been here the whole time. Can I see him? Jiraiya asked, and Temari spoke up. I don't know, Temari said. He's in pretty bad shape. That last mission really took a toll on him, she said. Before he had pretty bad depression and now. Temari trailed off. I don't even know how to explain it now, she said, and Jiraiya began to pace. Shit, I wasn't prepared for this, Jiraiya said. I'm not a psychiatrist. I can't just. Jiraiya began until he paused and looked at Gaara. I have an idea, Jiraiya said. What is it? Gaara said, listening. It's twofold, although I will need help from someone in Konoha, Jiraiya said, and Temari squinted. Can we trust them? Temari asked, and Jiraiya smirked. She's the only person I know that can do it, Jiraiya said. In Konoha. Hokage Tower. Good job, Kakashi, Sakura. Tsunade said, handing them their payments. Another mission done. You two are making stellar leaps, she said, and Kakashi smiled. The more experience she gets, the better shinobi she will be, Kakashi said, patting Sakura's shoulder. She's a lot stronger than she was a month ago, he said, and Sakura smiled. Thanks, Kakashi-sensei, Sakura said, although it's not only for me, she said, and Kakashi nodded. Well, anyway, I'm just glad that. Tsunade began until a toad popped in front of her. Lady Tsunade, emergency, the toad said, handing her a scroll. Tsunade took it and began reading it. Tsunade then stood up with a serious look on her face. Jiraiya is fighting Orochimaru, Tsunade said, making both Sakura and Kakashi go wide-eyed. I'm going to help Jiraiya kill him, she said, taking off her top cloths and changing in front of Kakashi, who had a blush, and Sakura, who was looking on in envy. I swore I'd never wear this thing again, Swan said as she began putting on her battle armor from her Jounin days, but I might need it, she said. Shizune, Tsunade shouted. Shizune then ran into the room. Yes, Lady Tsunade, Shizune said, and Tsunade went over and hugged her. You are temporary, Hokage, Swan said, and if I die then Kakashi will be named the next one. I love you all, Tsunade said as she walked back over to the toad in full battle gear. Let's do this, Tsunade said, grabbing onto the toad and being reverse summoned. Kakashi, Sakura and Shizune all stood there stunned at what just happened. Go get him, Lady Tsunade, Sakura said, balling up her fists. He deserves it, he is responsible for all of this, she said. But Tsunade landed Jiraiya. Where is Tsunade began until she looked around and saw Jiraiya sitting on a couch with Temari and Gaara drinking some water. Good, you made it, Jiraiya said. Where is Orochimaru? Tsunade said, and Jiraiya spoke. That was a lie, Orochimaru is not here. We are in Suna by the way, Jiraiya said, and Tsunade began to look livid. I thought you were dying, you fucking asshole, Tsunade shouted as she began to stomp forward, shaking the whole building. You better have a good goddamn excuse for why you called me here, or I'll rip your fucking nuts off, she shouted. Jiraiya put his hands up in defense. Naruto is alive and he's here in Suna, Jiraiya said, and Tsunade paused. But Tsunade said in a soft voice, is this a joke, she asked. Temari stood up and walked over. We smuggled him out of Konoha, Temari said. He's at our house, she said, and Tsunade began to tear up. Take me to him, Tsunade said, and Jiraiya flinched. That's why we called you here, Jiraiya said, and Tsunade looked confused and Gaara interjected. I can explain, Gaara said. 15 minutes later, Tsunade, now wearing civilian cloths, was walking at a fast pace to the mansion with scowl on her face. How can you be so stupid, Swan said to Gaara. You sent a mentally unstable shinobi on an assassination mission. He's only been gone a month. It should have taken months of therapy before he even goes on another combat mission, she said, and Gaara looked sheepish. I thought it would be good for him, Gaara said. How was I to know he'd get beaten half to death, stabbed by a little girl and kill a man in a grocery store, Gaara said, and Jiraiya's sweat dropped. When you put it like that it sounds even worse than how it looks on the mission report, Jiraiya said. As they continued walking to the mansion, they saw Kankuro running towards them. Guys, it's what the fuck, why are they here, Kankuro said, pointing at Jiraiya and Tsunade. They're here to help Naruto, Temari said. Where is he, she said, and Kankuro rubbed the back of his head. That's why I was coming to get you, Kankuro said. But Naruto, ahaha, Naruto laughed as sat on a rock outside in the courtyard. That's pretty funny, Kakashi-sensei, Naruto said to one of Kankuro's puppets. Naruto dressed up and painted one of Kankuro's puppets to look like Kakashi, everything from the fake hair to the mask. Oh man, that was a good story, Naruto said, wiping his eye. He then turned with a scowl. Ah, shut it, you emo bastard, Naruto said as he looked to a second puppet. He dressed up as Sasuke with a drawn-on face. You are always so moody, Naruto said. Can't you just crack a smile for once, Naruto said before he was hit in the back of the head. Oh Sakura, what was that for, Naruto said as he looked to a third puppet painted red with pink hair. Naruto was holding the hand that hit him, and he did not realize he was the one doing it. Jiraiya, Tsunade, Gaara, Temari and Kankuro all looked on in horror, sadness and confusion. What the hell, Jiraiya said as his eye. Jiraiya tried to speak but couldn't find the words. I found him like this when I came back from using the bathroom, Kankuro said. He's been talking to my puppets for over an hour now. I think he finally lost it, he said. He's delusional, Tsunade said, gaining all their attention. Reality is beating him down, so he's imagining that everything is perfect. To Naruto, all of this is real, he's trying to cope with reality, Tsunade said. Okay, so what do we do, Jiraiya asked, and Tsunade sighed. We have to bring him back to reality, Tsunade said, even if it hurts him, she said as she knew she was going to hate this next part. Naruto was continuing his conversation with the puppets until he saw Jiraiya and Tsunade start walking forward. Whoa, Naruto said as he got up, walked towards them. Tsunade and Jiraiya stopped and Naruto stood in front of them. Hello, Naruto, Tsunade said softly. Hey kid, Jiraiya said in a chipper tone. Kankuro, these look good, Naruto said to Kankuro, making Jiraiya and Tsunade confused. They look so real, he said, grabbing and touching Jiraiya. I mean, this puppet looks exactly like Pervy Sage, Naruto said, and Jiraiya began to feel his heart break. Naruto, Tsunade said, and he turned his attention to her. Whoa, and you made one of Grandma Tsunade too, Naruto said, walking up, feeling and poking her. Man, you got nearly everything exactly right, you even got her here. That's attention to detail, Naruto said. Naruto, Tsunade said, grabbing him. It's me, it's Tsunade, she said, and Naruto looked at her wide-eyed. Wait, why, you're real, and that means, Naruto said as he turned to Jiraiya. I'm real too, kid, Jiraiya said. Naruto's happy demeanor was now gone as he started to walk back. But what about Kakashi and Sasuke, and Naruto began as he turned around and looked at the puppets. Guys, say something, Naruto said as he walked over and started shaking the puppets. Naruto, stop, please, Tsunade said. Naruto stopped and turned around. Is this all real? Naruto said as tears began to form in his eyes. Tsunade and Jiraiya both nodded their heads. Oh god, Naruto said, falling to the ground and curling up into a ball. Jiraiya and Tsunade along with Gaara, Temari and Kankuro all ran towards him as he began sobbing uncontrollably. I just wanted to fix it, Naruto sobbed out. I just wanted it all back to the way it was. I want to bring Sasuke back. I want to be Hokage. I want to be Naruto Uzumaki again, he sobbed out on the ground. But I can't fix it. I killed Sasuke. I killed that guy during the mission, leaving his daughter all alone. Naruto sobbed. Every time I try to fix things, I just make it worse. Why can't I fix it, he cried out. Everyone looking at Naruto felt their hearts break. Naruto has been trying to hold himself together, and now it's all crumbling down around him. Naruto then felt his head being lifted up and then pressed into something soft. Tsunade placed Naruto's head on her breasts and began to stroke his hair lovingly. I'm sorry, Naruto, Tsunade said as tears began to run down her cheeks. I'm sorry that you suffered how you did. I'm sorry I wasn't able to protect you like how I should have. I'm sorry that you lost your dream, she said. I'm sorry too, kid, Jiraiya said, looking down. If only I was there, if only I was a better teacher, I could have helped you. I failed you, Naruto, Jiraiya said, the regret evident on his face. Naruto, after a few more minutes of crying, spoke. It's not your fault, Naruto said to both Jiraiya and Tsunade. It's the villagers. They always hated me and they always will hate me. I was an idiot for believing it could be different, Naruto said. It can be different, Naruto, Temari said, kneeling down. You're no longer in Konoha. You are in Suna. You can start over here. Be who you always wanted to be, she said, and Kankuro walked forward. You may not be a Konoha ninja anymore, Kankuro said, but you are still Naruto Uzumaki. That's one thing that no one can take away from you, he said. I was able to change, Naruto, Gaara said. You helped me change my ways and become who I was too blind to be, and I'm willing to help you find your way too, Gaara said with a smile on his usually stoic face. Naruto sniffled and wiped his tears away. Thank you, Naruto said. Thank you all, he said with the first genuine smile he had in a long time. Now then, kid, Jiraiya said, picking Naruto up. Enough tears, let's go and talk, we have a lot to catch up on, Jiraiya said. In the Kazukiage mansion. Over the next few hours Naruto told Jiraiya and Tsunade all that he's been up to since he left Konoha, which wasn't much, mostly of him training with Temari and Kankuro. I've been making some progress with these fans, Naruto said, taking out his two small fans. I'm not a master by any sense of the word, but I'm making progress. Also, I've been training with this gauntlet blade that Kankuro made for me, Naruto said, showing his blade to the two Sannin. Both Tsunade and Jiraiya were glad to see Naruto acting kind of normal again. Tsunade knew that Naruto's mental health was far from fixed, but this was a good step in the right direction. Jiraiya smiled and then spoke. Naruto, Jiraiya said, gaining his attention. There is something I have to tell you about your parents, he said, and Naruto froze. What about them? Naruto asked, a little worried. Sarutobi-sensei made it a law to not talk about your parents to keep you safe. Jiraiya said they were very important people, and frankly, it would have shook Konoha to the core, he said, and Naruto grew wide-eyed. Jiraiya then took out two scrolls. I have one scroll of your father and one of your mother. I want you to have them in order to have some closure, he said. Naruto took both scrolls and looked at them. One was blank and another said Kushina. Naruto looked at the two scrolls in his hands as they began to tremble. How big is this? Naruto asked, and Jiraiya got a solemn look on his face. It's pretty damn big, kid. Your mother was important, but your father is only known by me, Tsunade, Kakashi and Sarutobi-sensei, Jiraiya said. Naruto looked at the scrolls and put his fingers on the edge of the blank one. My father, Naruto thought. Naruto tried to summon up the courage to open it, but he couldn't do it. I can't, Naruto said, putting the scroll down. I don't think I can, not yet, Naruto said in a shaky voice. It's okay, Naruto, Jiraiya said, picking up the scroll. You don't have to until you are ready. I'll hold on to it until you are, Jiraiya said, and Naruto nodded. At least read your mother's, Tsunade said. At least see who she was, she said. Naruto nodded. Naruto looked at the scroll and with shaky hands opened it and began to read the letter. Dear Naruto, if you are reading this, then I most likely died in the line of duty. It's ironic I'm writing about my death when you are not even born yet. I hope that when you do read this that it will be when I'm old and rotting on my deathbed, but in the world of the shinobi nothing is certain. I'm currently 8 months pregnant with you and waiting for you to arrive any day now. I am here to give you the words you probably heard hundreds of times before, but there is no harm in repeating them. When I was told I was pregnant with you, I was over the moon. I knew from the first moment I would be bringing into this world not only a strong ninja, but a strong man. The world of the shinobi is never certain, but what is certain is those you have beside you, me, your father, Jiraiya and all the future friends you will have is what truly matters in this world. You will have a lot of great challenges in your life. This is a sad reality of this crazy world. But what makes this bearable is how you deal with it. Lots of people believe you become powerful by learning jutsu or by gaining wealth. But there is no greater power than protecting those you love. So here is what I have to say. Find someone or something to protect with all your heart. Make plenty of friends, find the love of your life and never let her go, and whatever you do, do it for the right reasons. Make sure you abide by the shinobi prohibitions. God knows Jiraiya will not follow them. And remember this, Naruto, no matter where you go or what you do with your life, know that me and your father will love you unconditionally until our final breaths. I look forward to seeing the fine man you turn into, and I hope that you never have to read this, but remember this, I love you with all my heart and soul. I can't wait to see you in a few weeks, Naruto. Your loving mother, Kushina Uzumaki. Naruto's tears began to drip onto the scroll as he finished reading the message out loud. She loves me, Naruto said, clutching the scroll to his heart. My mother actually loved me, he said as he looked to the 5 people in front of him. Tsunade and Temari both wiped their tears as they began to hold and comfort the crying Naruto, while Jiraiya looked over to Gaara. Tsunade may not be able to stay here long, but that's not a problem for me, Jiraiya whispered to Gaara. I can do this, 3 months here and 3 months out running my spy network, he said, and Gaara nodded. I think that will be most beneficial to Naruto, Gaara said. I'll also take into account what kind of missions he'll do. He has a long way to go, Gaara said, and Jiraiya nodded. But for right now let's just give him some time, Jiraiya said, looking at Naruto. He's been through enough, he said. The next day, Konoha. Tsunade returned to Konoha wearing torn and damaged battle armor. As she walked to the cage tower she saw Sakura running towards her. Lady Tsunade, Sakura said, running up to her. Did you kill him? Is Orochimaru dead? She asked, and Tsunade looked at her. Slippery bastard got away again, Tsunade said with a scowl. He went back to whatever hole he was hiding in, she said, and Sakura scowled. Don't worry, Lady Tsunade, Sakura said, we'll get him next time. For Naruto, Sakura said as she turned around and began to walk off. Tsunade felt a pang in her heart as she had to lie to her apprentice. Sorry, Sakura, Tsunade thought. It looks like I'm continuing Sensei's legacy of keeping secrets. As much as I hate to do so, she thought as she began her walk back to her tower to resume her cage duties. Root's secret lair. Danzo was sitting in a candlelit room behind his desk. You have made a lot of progress since you joined, Rudy said. Now it's time to see if you are ready for the next step, he said, taking out a scroll and placing it on his desk. In order to achieve change in this world you have to take it, Danzo said, and in order for that to happen we will need soldiers. I will be giving you 2 squads to fulfill your mission. Do not fail me, he said. Just then had reached out and picked up the scroll. Ino Yamanaka looked at the scroll, and then to her teammate Sai. We will complete the mission without fail, Lord Danzo, she said with a scowl on her face. Let's go, Sai, she said as she began to walk out of the room, leaving Danzo alone. Soon Tsunade, Danzo thought, soon you will be a footnote in history, and I will ascend Konoha to its rightful glory. How it was always supposed to be, he thought as he began scheming and planning his next move. Tsubaku no Kitsune. Chapter 6. Suna. 3 months after Jiraiya arrived, Naruto, Temari, Kankuro, Gaara and Jiraiya were all standing inside the Kazekage office. Jiraiya was about to leave Suna, but had something to say. As you all know, I've been here training Naruto for the past 3 months, Jiraiya said, but certain things have popped up. There have been recent attacks throughout the elemental nations, he said, and Temari spoke up. What kind of attacks, Temari asked, and Gaara spoke up. Small villages of 500 or less have been attacked recently, Gaara said, making everyone go wide-eyed, mostly in places with small shinobi presences, like farming villages and smaller countries, he said, and Jiraiya nodded. I'm going to head out and do some intel gathering, Jiraiya said. If need be, I'll come back and ask for Suna's help, as Konoha is in no way, shape or form help out, because over the past few months the council has pushed for a more isolationist policies, he said. Ah, those, Naruto said, those guys always hated me. If they hated someone from their own village, why would they help out foreigners, he said, and Jiraiya nodded. So that's why I'm heading out for 3 months, Jiraiya said before taking out a scroll and tossing it to Naruto. Here's some exercises and techniques you can learn until I get back, Jiraiya said, and Naruto smiled. Thanks, pervy sage, Naruto said with a smile. Jiraiya returned the smile. You're welcome, kid, Jiraiya said before making a hand signs. Good luck and stay safe, and have fun in Kiri, Jiraiya said before he vanished in a swirl of leaves. Kiri, Naruto asked confused, and Gaara spoke up. Yes, Naruto, Temari. I have a mission for the 2 of you, Gaara said, gaining both of their attentions. 2 months ago the Kiri civil war ended, as such the country is in shambles, especially in the medical department, Gaara said. So, it will be a 3-month humanitarian mission, Gaara said, as both blondes went wide-eyed. You will escort a small Suna contingent of medical ninja to Kiri. You will provide medical aid and help rebuild, he said. Go to the Suna hospital and get ready to leave tomorrow, Gaara said, and Naruto cheered. Hell yeah, road trip, Naruto said as he turned to Temari. You totally psyched, Temari. We're gonna kick so much ass, he said, and Temari looked at him. It's a humanitarian mission, most likely there won't be any fighting, Temari said. Naruto nodded. You're right, Naruto said, crossing his arms. We're gonna protect so much ass, he said, making Gaara chuckle, Kankuro sweat drop, and Temari roll her eyes at how corny that joke was. You're such an idiot, I swear, Temari said with a small smile. Come on, let's go to the hospital, Temari said as both her and Naruto walked out. Hey Gaara, Kankuro spoke up. Why didn't you send me along, he said, and Gaara looked at him. The last time you 2 went out on a mission you both nearly died, Gaara said, and Naruto held his head down. Besides, Naruto and Temari work great together, they have very similar chemistry, he said. Besides, there is no one I trust more with my sister than Naruto, Gaara said, and Kankuro chuckled. Yeah, I get it, Kankuro said. He's a trustworthy guy, unlike that Nara asshole that Temari was into, he said, and Gaara nodded. Suna hospital. Naruto was currently in his ninja attire which covered his face from view. As he entered the hospital with Temari, he looked at her. So, who's leading the medical team again, Naruto asked, and Temari smiled. Elder Chiyo, Temari said. She's no Lady Tsunade, but she's the best medical ninja we have. She also teaches new ninja medics, she said, and Naruto nodded. As they entered the room where they were supposed to go, Naruto and Temari paused as they looked at the medical contingent. There were about 20 in total, and all were women. Except for one old lady, every other one seemed to be around Temari's age, or a year or 2 older than Naruto. Naruto said in confusion. Where are the guys? Is this like a woman-only room, Naruto said confused. No, young man, this is the right room, an old lady said walking up slowly. In Suna, the vast majority of medical personnel are women, as they make better medics, due to their better chakra control, she said with a smile. And who are you, Granny, Naruto said, and she chuckled. I am Elder Chiyo, the leader of the medical staff, Chiyo said with a smile. Good to see you again, Elder Chiyo, Temari said as she hugged the old woman. Likewise, young Temari, you look even prettier than the last time I saw you, Chiyo said, and Temari smiled. I'd hope so, Naruto said, gaining their attentions. I got her this special soaps and stuff for her birthday last month. I know girls like soap and stuff. I never get it, he said, and Temari looked at him. I don't get how you can wash yourself with that 100 Ryu bar of soap, Temari said. It feels like I'm rubbing a brick against my skin, she said, and Naruto huffed. Hey, I'm just glad I can buy soap now. I used to just do with water, Naruto said. Stupid store owners, he said. And who are you, young man, Chiyo asked, and Naruto spoke. I'm Natsu, Naruto said using his alias. I'm a new ninja from outside the village. Nice to meet you, Granny, he said, and Chiyo smiled. Nice to meet you Natsu Chiyo said, but why is your face covered, if you don't mind me asking she said and Naruto flinched. Naruto said thinking of an answer leprosy he said. Temari smacked her head and Chiyo laughed. If you're going to lie, at least pick a disease from the century she laughed out and Naruto rubbed the back of his head. It's okay if you cannot say, I didn't mean anything by it. There's no need to keep your guard up around me son she said grabbing his hand and patting it. Naruto felt a sense of security as he felt no malice from the old woman thanks Granny Chiyo he said and the old lady smiled. Chiyo then excused herself and went back to the others. Leprosy, really Temari said with a smirk. Hey I don't know any diseases that cause disfigurement Naruto said and Temari chuckled. You could have just said it was to cover a scar or a religious thing she said and Naruto chuckled. Yeah, that would have been better Naruto said okay, so let's go meet the others Naruto said and Temari nodded as they both left off to meet the others. The next day. At dawn, Naruto, Temari, Chiyo and the medical personnel were all standing at the front gates facing Gaara who came to see them off. I just want to wish you all good luck and safe travels, Gaara said, and remember you are all representing Suna, leave a good impression he said, and they all nodded. Temari then stepped forward and spoke up. Okay people let's get a move on Temari shouted I'll take the lead, Natsu you take the rear, if you see anything suspicious let us know, and we will handle it she said. The group all responded with a yes ma'am, and Temari nodded let's get going, Temari said as she led the group outside the gates of Suna. A few hours later across the land of Storm's border, Temari, Naruto and the others have been walking since dawn, and it was now dusk. Naruto, Temari and Chiyo were fine the medical staff were slowing down as they were not field ninja and did not have the same stamina training. As they walked along Temari saw a roadside inn and spoke up we'll stop here for the night Temari said, we still have another 2 days until we reach Yuga, so we can board our ship to Kiri, so, there is no need to rush she said, and the tired members of her group nodded. Temari and the others entered the inn and got a large room for everyone, as they entered the room one of the girls looked to Naruto and spoke up. Natsu it's okay if you take your covering off, it's just us here she said in a friendly tone. Naruto hesitated and looked over to Temari. Temari with a smile nodded reassuring him it was safe, after all, Temari vetted the girls and made sure none of them knew who he was due to the Chunin exams. Oh okay Naruto said nervously. Naruto then began to remove his face coverings until they were completely off. Naruto's hair was a lot longer than it was 3 months ago and was now tied into a small ponytail much like Temari's. Funny enough Naruto was using Temari's hair scrunchies as he didn't have any. When Naruto showed his face, he looked around and saw all the other girls looking at him with wide eyes. Is there something wrong Naruto asked curiously. And no nothing is wrong the girl said as she began to unpack her stuff. Temari raised an eyebrow at this and then began to hear whispers. Oh my god he's cute his eyes are so blue he's a blonde look at those birthmarks on his face, they're so exotic they all whispered among themselves. Temari rolled her eyes at this. Oh great, now Naruto has a fan club Temari thought as she looked around man, this is going to be so awkward for Naruto she thought. 2 hours later, here takes a bite of this Natsu a girl said, holding a piece of meat with her chopsticks. Wow that looks good, Naruto said as he took a bite of the meat and chewed man that's amazing, what kind of meat is that he asked and the girls giggled. It's camel, how have you not had it before she said and Naruto rubbed the back of his head. I'm from a outside village, not many camels where I come from Naruto said as the girls came in closer, some even pressing up against him making him blush. Temari was sitting on the other side of the table eating her curry goat looking on in anger what the fuck Naruto Temari thought how can you be so calm around them, well just a few months ago you were a mess she thought. Chiyo sitting next to her chuckled gaining her attention don't worry Temari, I'm sure your boyfriend won't cheat on you she said and Temari began to blush. The boyfriend, Natsu is not my boyfriend Temari said catching herself I couldn't care less what he does she said crossing her arms. Chiyo seeing this laughed. I've seen the way he acts toward you, Chiyo said gaining her attention he's attached to you, he relies on you, you are very precious to him she said and Temari went wide-eyed. Temari remembered Naruto kissing her cheek and what he said afterwards, you are really precious to me, don't forget it those words echoed in Temari's mind for a few seconds before she began to eat her food again. Naruto would never see me that way Temari thought trying to deny it I'm sure he sees me like a big sister or something she thought. She then turned and looked at Naruto once more hanging out with the other girls and felt a small pang in her heart as she looked on. Temari ignored it and began to eat her food once more. Later that night, Temari was getting ready to go to bed and was walking out of the restroom after brushing her teeth. As she exited, she saw Naruto waiting his turn. Hey Temari you getting ready to hit the hay Naruto said and Temari nodded. Yeah, I am Temari said with a smile I'll be by later so we can go to sleep she said. She then saw the look on Naruto's face and he spoke. Yeah, about that Naruto said rubbing the back of his head. I think it'll be better if we didn't do that tonight, Naruto said, making Temari freeze. It's just that we are all sleeping in the same room, and I'd rather not have any rumors spread about you sleeping with me, Naruto said you know because you're like a princess and stuff he said. Temari began to clench her fist, but kept on a fake smile. Thank you Naruto, Temari said, barely keeping herself together. You're right, it would cause some problems. Good night, she said as she walked off in a hurry. Naruto looked at her confused. Did I say something wrong? Naruto thought. Temari walked into the room to her futon. Everyone else was asleep and Temari quietly got under her blankets. Temari's back was turned so no one could see her tears come down her face. He doesn't need me anymore, Temari thought as her tears began to fall onto her pillow. The next day, Temari was leading the group down the road. Temari had a look on her face that laid somewhere between angry and sad. Temari. Naruto spoke up softly. Are you okay? You haven't said anything in hours, he said. Temari snapped her head towards him. Fuck off, I'm fine. Get off my ass, Temari shouted. Temari instantly regretted it when she saw several tears form into Naruto's eyes. I'm sorry, she began but didn't finish as Naruto ran to the back of the group. It's okay Natsu, I'm sure she didn't mean it, several girls said as they began to comfort Naruto. Damn it, stupid, Temari said as she slapped herself in the head. Chiyo walked up concerned at Temari's sudden outburst. Temari, what was that? That is no way to talk to a boy who asked an innocent question, Chiyo scolded, and Temari looked ashamed. I'm sorry, I just, she began. Hey, look over there, one of the girls said, pointing at the sky. There's a lot of black smoke, she said, as they all saw multiple pillars of black smoke. Temari grabbed her fan and looked over to the group. Natsu with me, the rest of you hide, she said. Wait, Chiyo said before going through hand signs. She then made 5 earth clones. I'm old, not useless. I'll assist you, she said, and Temari nodded. Okay, let's go, Temari said as all 3 jumped off, leaving the medical staff under the protection of Chiyo's clones. With Naruto, Temari and Chiyo. Naruto, Chiyo and Temari all hid in the trees outside a village that was under attack. There were blank-masked Anbu attacking the village. They were killing all the adults, elderly and older children, while taking small children and babies alive. Why are they doing this? Temari said while Chiyo remained silent. Who cares? Naruto said, taking out his fans. We got to stop them. After all, we are on a humanitarian mission, he said. He's right, Chiyo said. Let's go and help them, she said with fire in her eyes. Very well, Temari said. Let's do this, she said. All 3 then jumped from the trees and rushed into the village. Naruto unleashed 2 wind blades that decapitated 2 of the ninjas who were unaware of his presence. A third one came out of a building and rushed in with his katana raised ready to strike. Chiyo however killed the ninja by using the hidden blade in her prosthetic arm. You're a robot? Naruto asked, and Chiyo laughed. No, just lost a limb in a war, Chiyo said as all 3 continued their way into the village. As they reached the village square, they saw dozens of small children huddled together in the middle of a seal. Just then the seal began to glow, and then in a poof of smoke all the children were gone. Mission success, came a familiar feminine voice. Naruto looked and saw Ino Yamanaka wiping blood off her tanto on the corpse of a civilian she killed. Ino, sensing chakra that were not a root members, looked over and saw Temari, Chiyo and a disguised Naruto. Well, look what we have here, Ino said with a smirk. Temari, right. Shikamaru was heartbroken when you turned on him, she said, and Temari snarled. He tried to kill his comrade. He's lucky I didn't bash his fucking head in, Temari shouted, and Ino laughed. Well, I guess I can take you alive. Shikamaru would love to have a present, Ino said, before turning to her rude Anbu. Sai, kill the one with the face covering, she said, pointing to Naruto. The rest of you deal with the old hag, Ino said, pointing at Chiyo. Chiyo got in a defensive stance as 50 rude Anbu prepared to face her. I'll deal with Princess here, she said as she took out her tanto. Naruto was looking on in both fear and confusion. Ino is behind this. What's happening? What the hell is going on? Naruto thought as he prepared for the battle ahead of him. Tsubaku no Kitsune. Chapter 7. With Naruto. Naruto was running across the village to find a more suitable battleground. Naruto turned around and saw an ink tiger coming towards him. Naruto took out his fan and turned around. Wind blade. Naruto sent a blade of wind towards the ink tiger, hitting it dead on. Naruto began to run once again. Sai was following Naruto, trying to catch up to him. How long do you intend on running? Sai said. Is this all you Sand Shinobi are good for? Cowardly attack and running away, he said. Naruto ignored him and kept on running. Naruto then stopped and turned around. This should be a good area, Naruto thought as he looked around. Naruto was now in a grass field. There was no trees, no boulders, and far enough away from Temari and Chiyo. Sai then stopped a few yards away. Looks like you have some brains, Sai said with a fake smile, picking a place that will benefit your long to mid-range fighting style, he said. Not that it will help you, Sai said, taking out his tanto. When I kill you, I will go back for that blonde girl, he said, making Naruto flinch. She's the former Kazukiya's daughter, correct? Sai said. She will be very useful to my master. Who knows, maybe her children will bring another Kekkei Genkai to village, he said. Naruto felt his blood boil at this. You will not touch Temari, Naruto said as he took out his second fan and got into a fighting stance, and you will pay for what you did to this village, he said. But Chiyo was on the opposite side of the village in the middle of the marketplace. There were a lot of civilian corpses around, most of whom were killed with a kunai or shuriken to the back. How tragic, Chiyo thought. Reminds me of the warring clan period, innocents being killed for no reason, she thought. Just then all 50 Anbu began to land around her with swords and kunai drawn. "Give up, you have no chance against us," the Anbu leader said. "Very well then," Chio said, raising her hands up. "I surrender. I'm too old to fight back," she said. The Anbu leader was surprised and sent 4 of his root members forward to capture her. As soon as they were within several feet, 2 of the root Anbu decapitated their fellow root members. But one of the Anbu shouted as he began to be jerked around. "I can't control my body," the other said. Ahaha, Chio laughed. "I will never surrender to such cowardly men," she said. "You may be skilled at killing unarmed civilians, but I am Elder Chio, puppet master of Suna," she said as she began using the 2 Anbu as living puppets. "Now come and face justice for your crimes," she said. "Kill her," the Anbu leader shouted as the other Anbu charged Chio to end her life. Of Temari. Temari was staring down Ino, who was looking at her with a scowl on her face. Temari decided to go on the defensive. "Wind scythe jutsu," Temari shouted. Temari swung her fan, creating a large gust of wind. Ino, seeing this, went through hand signs earth style. Mud wall. Ino then slammed her hands on the ground, creating a mud wall protecting herself from Temari's attack. Ino jumped to the top of the mud wall and went through hand signs once more water style. Water bullets. Ino fired several water bullets at Temari. Temari, seeing this, began to dodge the water bullets. As she did so, she saw Ino close in with a kunai in her hand. Temari closed her fan and swung it like a club at Ino. Ino ducked under the fan and slashed at Temari. Ino made contact with Temari's stomach but did not see any blood. Ino was then kicked in the face by Temari, being sent skidding backwards. Temari looked down at her torn shirt and her chainmail underneath. "Thank God for body armor," Temari thought as she looked at Ino. "Looks like the spoiled princess finally got some moves," Temari said in a mocking tone. "I remember your embarrassing fight during the Chunin exams. Looks like you finally became a proper kunoichi," she said with a smirk. "Not some Uchiha-loving slut who was more focused on her looks than her training," Temari said. Ino scowled at this. "I'll show you a proper kunoichi, you sand bitch," Ino shouted as she went through hand signs. Ino then made a weird hand sign with her opposite index and pinkies connecting. Temari, seeing this, jumped out of the way. She thought it was Ino using her mind transfer jutsu. Temari then stopped as her world became black and white jinjutsu, Temari thought as she looked around. "It's hopeless, Temari." Ino disconnect voice said. "Once you are in my jinjutsu, there is no escape," she said. Temari scowled at this. Temari then opened her fan and swung it, aiming blindly. However, she was concerned when nothing happened. "Ha ha ha ha." Ino's disconnected laugh echoed. "Did I forget to say this jinjutsu also makes you unable to form chakra? My bad," she said. "Crap, where the hell is Temari?" began until she felt pain in her side. Temari grabbed her side and looked at her hand. She was bleeding. "Don't worry, I won't kill you," Ino said as Temari looked around trying to find Ino. "But I can't promise this won't hurt," she said before chuckling. "Shit, how am I supposed to find her?" Temari thought. Temari was then slashed on her arm, making her drop her fan. "Damn it. I need Naruto or Chio here to break me out. Where are they?" Temari thought. But Naruto sent several wind blades towards Sai, who was currently on an ink birdie created. "Come down here and fight me like a man," Naruto shouted as he fired another wind blade at Sai. Sai evaded once more and took out his scroll and drew in it. "Let's see if he can handle this," Sai said. Sai created 2 ink golems and sent them to the ground to fight Naruto. Naruto looked at the 2 golems and cursed. "Damn, those things are big. They have to be like 10 feet tall," Naruto thought. The 2 golems began to charge at Naruto, who got ready. Naruto put up his fans and popped out his arm blade. Naruto charged at the golems, ready to take them on. One of the golems swung his fist at Naruto, who ducked under the attack by sliding on the ground. Naruto, using his momentum, cut the Achilles of the golems, sending it down to one knee. Naruto quickly got back up and ran up the golem's back. The golem swung its arm behind itself trying to hit Naruto, but missed. Naruto, approaching the top of the golems, jumped up and charged his blade with wind chakra. Naruto came down with a slash, cutting the head of the golems off. The golems dispelled into ink, covering Naruto. Naruto wiped the ink from his eyes in time to see the second golem in front of him. Naruto was kicked by the second golems, sending him skidding across the ground. Naruto got back up with a wince as he grabbed his rubs. "Damn, that hurt," Naruto thought. Naruto quickly brushed the pain aside and got back into his fighting stance. Naruto took out several shuriken and charged them with wind chakra. Naruto threw the shuriken at the golem, who put its arms up in defense. Naruto charged at the distracted golem, taking out his fans once more. Sai, looking down from his bird, was quite impressed with the boy. He was doing better than most against his golems. Sai saw Naruto jump over the golem onto its head and looked on in confusion. Sai then became alarmed when Naruto used the golem as a springboard and jumped up high in the air. "Surprise, fuckface," Naruto shouted as he brought back both of his fans. Naruto swung both of his fans forward. Wind sickle jutsu. Naruto fired a concentrated wall of wind at Sai from a closer range. Sai was unable to dodge the attack and was hit dead on. Sai's bird dispersed into ink as he plummeted to the ground. Sai hit the ground hard as he had the wind knocked out of him. Naruto, while still in the air, turned around and swung his fans backwards, sending him to the ground at an accelerated rate. Naruto aimed directly at the golem as he put up both of his fans. Naruto once more brought out his blade and drove it into the golem's head. Naruto used the golem to slow down him momentum as he hit the ground. The golem turned dispersed into ink and Naruto stood back up. Naruto turned and looked at Sai. "No more tricks," Naruto said, getting into his fighting stance. "We end this with blades," he said. Sai spit some blood from his mouth and took out his tanto. "Your funeral," Sai said as he got into his stance. Both boys stared at each other for a few seconds, then in an instant both boys rushed at each other and began to clash blades. But Chiyo, using her puppeteering skills, was still fighting against the Red Anbu. However, now the group was down to 25, as half of their number have been killed. "She's just one old lady," the Anbu leader shouted. "How the hell have we not killed her yet?" he shouted. Chiyo recalled the two mangled corpses of the Anbu she was using as puppets and had them on either side of her. "I'm old, not weak, boy," Chiyo said before dropping the corpses. "Looks like they will no longer be necessary," Chiyo said as she took out a scroll. Chiyo opened a scroll and summoned out 10 puppets in white robes. "I haven't used these puppets in over 30 years," Chiyo thought. "I think it's time for a function check," she thought. Chiyo sent 2 of the puppets toward a group of 5 Anbu. All 5 of the Anbu got into a defensive stance as the puppets neared. Both puppets then joined hands and pulled apart, revealing dozens of small steel wires. The puppets flew by with the Anbu being right in the middle. The Anbu stood there for a few seconds before falling apart into a pile of chunks. Chiyo then sent another puppet wielding blades toward another group of 5 at a blistering speed. One of the Anbu tried to strike the puppet with his sword. The puppet blocked the strike as if it was alive. The puppet then countered with a slash which disemboweled the Anbu. The 4 remaining Anbu attempted to attack, but the puppet jumped up and landed in the middle of the group. The puppet then did a dance-like attack and stopped with both blades extended. The 4 Anbu's heads all fell to the ground with a wet plop. The leader of the Anbu, seeing this, grew frustrated. "Regroup," he shouted. Just then the remaining 15 Anbu all gathered in a larger group to defend themselves. "Ha ha," Chiyo laughed. "You just handed me my victory," she said. Chiyo then sent her Buddha, Dharma and Sangha puppets toward them. All the puppets stopped a few yards away and got into a triangle formation with 2 puppets on the bottom and 1 standing on their shoulders. "Brewing suction crushing," Chiyo shouted. Just then a powerful vacuum began and the Anbu felt themselves be pulled towards the puppets. As they entered the opening of the puppets, the Anbu were ripped apart as they turned into red mist on the other side. Chiyo, seeing she got all of the Anbu, cancelled the jutsu and recalled all her puppets. She then looked around trying to see if there were any others left. Seeing as there were none, she sealed up her puppets once again. "Let's go see how Lady Temari is doing," Chiyo thought as she ran off, leaving the carnage she created behind her. But Naruto blocked a slash from Sai with his blade and retaliated with a punch to the face which connected. Sai's head was jolted back, but he quickly recovered and jumped away. Sai got into a stance and stared at Naruto. Naruto was now panting. "I gotta end this," Naruto thought. Naruto made a hand sign he hasn't made in a few months. "Shadow clone jutsu," he shouted as he made 10 shadow clones, making Sai go wide-eyed. How does he know that jutsu? That is a forbidden jutsu from Konoha, Sai thought. Sai was brought out of his thoughts as Naruto and his clones charged at him. Sai was now on the defensive as Naruto and his clones neared him. One of the clones slashed at Sai, who blocked with his tanto. Sai retaliated by kicking the clone in the gut, dispelling it. 2 more clones approached and Sai got ready. Sai jumped and with a spinning slash decapitated both clones, making them go up in a puff of smoke. Naruto, seeing this, took his opportunity. Naruto charged up his blade with wind chakra as he neared Sai. Naruto slashed at Sai, who attempted to block with his tanto. However, he was surprised when Naruto's blade cut straight through his tanto. Naruto slashed Sai across his chest, splitting it open. Naruto followed up with an uppercut, stabbing Sai from under the chin and piercing the top of his skull. Naruto looked into the lifeless eyes of Sai and put a hand on the boy's head. Naruto pulled out his blade and let Sai's lifeless body fall to the ground. Naruto looked down at the dead boy and felt nothing. In another time he would have tried to talk him down or knock him out. But Naruto knew from his last mission that sparing someone could cost you your life. Naruto retracted his arm blade and ran off to where he last saw Temari. But Temari was standing on wobbly feet as she looked around. The genjutsu she was in was taking its toll. Ino was attacking her and she could not see where it was coming from. Not only that, but she could not form chakra to break the genjutsu. Temari had cuts all across her body and was feeling lightheaded. Damn, what can I do? Temari thought as she tried to find a way out of the situation. Temari had an idea that just might work. Ino was looking at Temari as she looked around frantically. You can't find me, Ino thought as she readied her kunai. Looks like you are not all you crack up to be, she thought. Ino began to run at Temari with her kunai ready to strike. Ino stabbed Temari in the shoulder, making Temari scream in pain. Ino then saw Temari smirk. Temari grabbed Ino by her hand and spit in her face, covering it in blood. Temari, who could now see her own blood in the black and white, smiled. I see you, bitch, Temari said, making Ino go wide-eyed. Temari disarmed Ino of her kunai and drove a punch into the girl's stomach. Temari followed up with a leg sweep sending Ino to the ground. Temari then mounted Ino and grabbed her by the neck. Ino kicked and struggled as Temari began to strangle her. Temari did not let up as she continued to squeeze Ino's neck. Ino in a move of desperation punched Temari in one of her wounds, making the bleeding worsen. It worked as Temari let go, and Ino kicked her off. Ino got back up and saw a discarded kunai. Ino reached out to grab it, but was stopped. Naruto arrived in time and using his blade cut off Ino's hand. Ino screamed as she clutched her now bleeding stump. Chiyo also arrived and tapped Temari on her shoulder, breaking the genjutsu placed on her. Temari's eyes fluttered as the genjutsu was broken and looked over and Naruto standing over Ino. Naruto looked down at Ino who was crying over her lost limb. "You sure have fallen," Ino, Naruto said as he revealed his face, making Ino go wide-eyed. "How could you sink so low to attack an innocent village?" he said with disgust. Then Naruto, "You're alive," Ino said, now feeling a little scared. Ino then looked at him with a pleading look and Naruto, "You're not going to kill me, are you? We were friends." "You wouldn't," Ino began but didn't finish. Naruto swung his blade, decapitating Ino. Not falling for it, Naruto said as he turned around and looked at Temari who was being healed by Chiyo. "You okay, Temari?" Naruto asked, and Temari nodded. "Yeah, I'm fine," Temari said as she was helped to her feet. "Let's look for survivors, seal up that bitch's body, and get back to the group," Temari said, and Naruto nodded and began to search the village. A few hours later, Naruto, Temari and Chiyo searched the village and found no survivors, after which they left off to rejoin the group and began their journey once again. They did not mention that it was Konoha that attacked the village. They lied and said it was bandits, as they did not want to put themselves into any more danger. After reaching another inn, Naruto, Chiyo and Temari asked to use a private conference room, to which the innkeepers agreed. After checking the room for bugs, Chiyo put up a privacy barrier. "Naruto," Chiyo said. "Summon Lord Jiraiya," Chiyo said, and Naruto nodded. Naruto went through hand signs and summoned a toad. "How can I help you?" the toad said. "Can you get Pervy Sage here? I need him for something serious," Naruto said, and the toad nodded. The toad then went up in a puff of smoke. Naruto and the others waited for a few minutes until another puff of smoke happened, revealing Jiraiya. "Hey kid, miss me already?" Jiraiya said with a smile. However, after seeing the serious looks on their faces, he changed as well. "What happened? Something wrong?" Jiraiya asked seriously. Naruto opened up a scroll and revealed the head of Ino Yamanaka. Temari took out picture of the seal that was used to teleport the children of the village, and Chiyo took out a blank Anbu mask with the kanji root on it. Jiraiya went wide-eyed and then got an angry look on his face. "Naruto, Temari, Elder Chiyo," Jiraiya said, taking a seat. "Tell me everything and leave out nothing," he said. Tsubaku no Kitsune. Chapter 8. With Naruto, Temari, Jiraiya and Chiyo. Jiraiya was sitting speechless on the ground as he took in all the information he had just heard from Naruto, Temari and Chiyo. Jiraiya then looked at the severed head of Ino Yamanaka and sighed. "This is not good at all," Jiraiya said. "You three have just discovered something big," he said, getting up and picking up the blank Anbu mask. "These masks symbolize an old Anbu organization called Root." Jiraiya explained. "They were headed by Danzo, a Konoha council member, and the one who pushed for Naruto to be placed under his command after the mission to retrieve Sasuke," Jiraiya said, and Naruto growled. "Well, let's go and get him," Naruto shouted. "We need to take him down and free those kids," Naruto said, and Jiraiya held his hand up. "Calm down, kid, it's not that simple," Jiraiya said. "Danzo has been garnering support from the shinobi and civilian population. Danzo is making a power grab from Tsunade, and so far, he is winning," he said, and then he stood up. "And that's not all," Jiraiya said, pointing at Ino's head. "That girl is the heiress of the Yamanaka clan. She's one of the princesses of Konoha," he said, and Temari slapped her forehead. "Oh fuck, I just realized that," Temari said, grabbing her head in frustration. "If news gets out that a team of Suna ninja killed a clan heiress and 50 ninja, there will be calls for blood, regardless of right or wrong," she said, and Naruto grew wide-eyed. "Crap, you're right," Naruto said, scratching his head. "If Konoha was getting ready to go to war again when Hinata was about to be kidnapped, who knows what they will do to Suna," he said. "And that's not all," Chiyo butted in. "If Konoha finds out you are alive and you killed that girl, it won't matter the circumstances. They will see anyone who tries to defend you as a traitor, which means all your remaining friends in Konoha will be put to the sword," she said, and Naruto began to panic. "Oh god, Kakashi-sensei, Sakura, Granny Tsunade, I can't put them in danger," Naruto said as he began to breathe heavily and clutch his chest. Temari, seeing Naruto was about to have a panic attack, grabbed onto Naruto's shoulder, getting his attention. "Naruto, calm down," Temari said soothingly. "Take deep breath," she said as she began to breathe in, and Naruto imitated. Temari and Naruto did this until he began to breathe easier. "Don't panic, nothing has happened yet," Temari said, and Naruto nodded as he caught his breath. Temari looked to Jiraiya and spoke. "So what's the plan?" Temari said, and Jiraiya looked thoughtful. "I would report this to Tsunade and begin to spy on Danzo," Jiraiya said. "We have to be sneaky about this. Konoha, while still hurt from the invasion, has about 6 times more ninja than Suna, and it's building up fast," Jiraiya said. And if I'm right, which I hope I'm not, Danzo has been attacking villages and kidnapping those kids to induct them into Root, Jiraiya said, making all three go wide-eyed, and by the reports, I can estimate that at least 1,000 children are now with him, and sadly, due to Root's training, I can estimate that at least 1/4 of them are dead by now, he said. Naruto began to feel sick to his stomach at hearing all this. Jiraiya came up and put his hand on Naruto's shoulder. Don't worry kid, Jiraiya said with a smile, everything will be alright, have some faith, he said, and Naruto nodded. Okay thanks pervy sage, Naruto said, and Jiraiya chuckled. I gotta go, get to Kiri safe, Jiraiya said, collecting all the evidence, and remember, keep this to yourselves, he said. Jiraiya vanished in a swirl of leaves, and Naruto took in a deep breath. It's been a long day, Naruto said, rubbing his eyes. I want to go to bed, he said as he began to walk out. As Naruto began to walk down the hall, he heard Temari call him. Naruto, wait, Temari said, going up to him. Temari got a nervous look and looked down. Listen, Temari began trying to find the words. Temari sighed. I'm sorry, Temari said, looking down. Back then on the road, I didn't mean to yell at you, I'm not sure what came over me, she said, looking at him with sad eyes. Can you forgive me, Temari said. Naruto looked into her eyes and saw how sincere she was. Naruto smiled and nodded. It's okay, Temari, I forgive you, Naruto said, making Temari smile. Just if there is anything wrong, just tell me. Like you said, it's not good to bottle things up, he said, and Temari nodded. Yeah, I should practice what I preach, Temari said with a chuckle. Well, let's go to bed, Naruto said, and Temari spoke up. Naruto, Temari said, gaining his attention. Yeah, what's up, Naruto said, turning to her. Naruto say. Temari blush and fidget. Can I sleep with you tonight? Temari asked bashfully. I don't want to sleep alone, she said. Naruto seeing this nodded. Sure, Temari, Naruto said as she grabbed her hand. Come on, let's get some food, shower and hit the hay. Not sure about you, but fighting a group of evil ninjas is very tiring, he said, which made Temari giggle. Chio looking on smiled at the interaction between the two. Is this what I think it is? Chio thought. Could it be that the princess of Suna has fallen for the banished ninja, she thought, as she began to walk down the hall. Well, I have seen stranger things in my life, Chio thought. Let's see how this goes, she thought. 4 days later, Naruto, Temari, Chio and the rest of the medical staff were on a ship heading towards Kiri. Man, this thing is taking forever, Naruto said as he leaned against the railing of the top deck. How much longer until we reach Kiri, he said, looking to Temari. Patience, Naruto, Temari said. You cannot rush things like this, she said. Just then Temari heard a voice call from the crow's nest. Land ahead, the port of Kiri, head starboard, the sailor shouted from the top of the crow's nest. Well, what do you know, Temari said, looking to Naruto. Looks like Kami has answered your prayers, Temari said, perking Naruto up. Let's go, you lot, Chio said, gaining everyone's attention. We are meeting the new Mizukage, and we need to look presentable, she said. Naruto and the others followed Chio back into the ship to get ready for their landing in Kiri. 1 hour later, Naruto, Temari and Chio all walked down the ramp first in order to meet the Mizukage. Okay, Naruto, be calm. It's probably just some old dude. Just say yes sir and no sir, Naruto thought as he tried to make himself presentable. As Naruto walked along the boardwalk, he saw 3 figures ahead. One was a beautiful young woman in a blue dress, long auburn hair and pink lipstick. Another was a man wearing a kimono and an eye patch, and a second was a boy around Naruto's age with a huge sword on his back. Hello Suna delegate, the woman said with a smile. I'm Mei Terumi. These are my assistants Ao and Chijuro. Welcome to Kiri. I hope your trip was uneventful, she said with a smile. Nice to meet you, Lady Terumi, Temari said. I am Temari, and this is Natsu and Lady Chio. We are the leaders of this medical delegation, and we are happy to offer our assistance, she said with a smile. Excuse me, Naruto said, raising his hand, gaining all their attentions. I thought we were going to meet the Mizukage. Where is he? Naruto said, confused. Mei looked at him with a cocked eyebrow. I am the Mizukage, good sir, Mei said, making Naruto go wide-eyed. What, are you serious? Naruto shouted in surprise. Naruto turned to Temari and began to ramble. Temari, look, the Mizukage is a super hot lady and not some old guy. Can you believe it? He said. Temari and Chio began to pale as Naruto was being incredibly rude. Natsu, Temari shouted. Don't just, she began until a blur of blue rushed past her. Mei was standing in front of Naruto with a smile on her face. Excuse me, can you repeat that? Mei said. Naruto grew a little nervous. Sorry Miss Mei, I just wasn't expecting the Mizukage to be such a pretty lady. I mean, you are like supermodel pretty and stuff, Naruto said with a small blush hidden under his face coverings. Mei then stood up straight and turned to Ao. You hear that, Ao? He thinks I'm supermodel pretty, Mei said with a glowing smile. I mean, it's no surprise. I mean, look at me, she said, doing some poses making everyone's sweat drop. Your name is Natsu, correct? Mei said, and Naruto nodded. May I see your face? It would be quite rude if I didn't see the man who complimented me, Mei said. Oh sure, Naruto said as he began to unwrap his face. Tada, Naruto said as he showed his face to Mei. Mei had on a regular smile on the outside, but on the inside. Oh my god, he's so cute, Mei thought in her head. Golden hair, blue eyes, those cute whisker marks. Oh my god, he's going to be such a looker in a few years, as she thought. I best snag him now, Mei thought with a giggle. My what a handsome man you are, Mei said, making Naruto blush. Mei then turned to Chio. Oh Miss Chio, Ao and Chujiro here will assist you in finding your lodgings, she said with a smile. If you don't mind, I would like to talk to Natsu here if I could, she said. Chio raised an eyebrow. Sure, just bring him back later, he's still on a mission, she said, and Mei nodded. Of course, I'll bring him back by 7, Mei said as she put her arm around Naruto. Naruto's head was now against her boob, making him blush red. Now then Natsu, let's go and chat somewhere, you must be hungry, she said with a smile. Do you have ramen, Naruto asked, and Mei nodded. Yes, we do, let's go and have dinner, Mei said before leaning in to whisper in his ear, and maybe we can have dessert later, Mei said, as steam began to come out of Naruto's ears as they walked away. HMPH, I swear girls nowadays have no class, Chio said. Isn't that right, Temari? Chio said. Chio heard no answer. Temari, Chio said, turning to Temari. Chio then flinched as she looked at Temari. Temari had a look of anger and rage on her face. Temari was gripping her fan so hard that the metal was beginning to bend from the force. Keep your hands off Naruto, you whore, Temari said as anger and rage filled her heart. Oh shit, Chio thought. I think a love triangle just started, Chio thought as she and the others backed away from Temari, who looked like she was about to go on a killing spree. This is going to be a long 3 months, Chio thought. In Konoha, Jiraiya entered Konoha, and the streets were bustling with people. What the hell is going on, Jiraiya said out loud. Lord Jiraiya, came a familiar voice. Jiraiya turned and saw Sakura Haruno running towards him. Come with me to the town square, it's urgent, she said, and Jiraiya followed without a second thought. As Jiraiya and Sakura ran to the town square, they saw a projection of Danzo in the air. People of Konoha, Danzo spoke up a few days ago. I sent my newly formed root Anbu on a mission to save a village in need, he said as Jiraiya's heart began to sink. Upon reaching the village, my root Anbu were attacked by none other than Suna shinobi, Danzo said, making the crowd gasp. What are you doing, Danzo? Jiraiya thought as he continued to listen. My root Anbu did not wear Konoha markings because this mission was not sanctioned by the Hokage, Danzo said with a solemn look on his face. Her inaction and her inability to lead cost the lives of several root Anbu. And what is worse is that an heiress no Yamanaka is missing, he said, making the crowd gasp in disbelief. My agents and my spies are looking for her in order to bring her home safely, Danzo said, but as we all know, the fates of young and beautiful kunoichi like her that are captured are never civil, he said, making the women in the crowd uneasy. We know that it was Suna shinobi who did this dastardly deed, Danzo said, but we only have the identity of one of the Suna terrorists who was there, he said as he produced a picture that made Jiraiya's heart stop. There was a rough sketch of Naruto in his disguise. Luckily the only thing that could be linked to Naruto was his eye color, and nothing else as his features were hidden. The name of the culprit is unknown, but the alias Abaku no Kitsune, Desert Fox, was chosen due to his craftiness and his ability to slip away, Danzo said, as the crowd began to be riled up. Even after our resounding victory against Suna during the invasion, they still wish to test us, Danzo shouted. We cannot let these murders go unpunished. We must act now or we let them walk all over us, Danzo said as the crowd began to cheer. Konoha will rise from this tragedy. We must have our revenge, Danzo shouted. Let the Hokage know what we want. Revenge, Danzo shouted. Kill him, kill the Desert Fox, Suna must pay. The crowd began to shout in a frenzy. Jiraiya looked around with a frightened Sakura and began to become a little worried. Damn, this is not good. Jiraiya thought this asshole might start another war, he thought. Sakura with me, Jiraiya said as he began to run to the cage tower. We must see Tsunade. This is of the utmost importance, he said, and Sakura nodded. Yes, Lord Jiraiya, Sakura thought as she ran with him towards the tower. As Sakura looked around at the angry and vengeful populace of Konoha, she became worried. What is becoming of this village, Sakura thought as she ran with Jiraiya to the tower. Tsubaku no Kitsune. Chapter 9. Konoha Council Chambers. Danzo, you fucking asshole, Tsunade shouted to the one-eyed man in the Konoha Council Chambers. You just riled up the villagers into a frenzy, and for what? Tsunade shouted. Danzo looked at her passively. It was because of your inaction is the reason I put out the truth, Danzo said with a stern look. A clan heir is dead, and we are now more vulnerable than ever, and all because of a Sand Shinobi, Danzo said. Rogue Sand Shinobi, Tsunade said, correcting him, making him go wide-eyed. I got this report from the new Kazukiage. After he assumed power, several shinobi loyal to his father deserted the village, she said. The Sand Shinobi you sketched is known as Natsu. He's a Chunin level Sand Shinobi who participated in the Chunin exams but got disqualified because one of his teammates being killed, Tsunade said, throwing a report at Danzo who was now wide-eyed. So now not only have you just blamed Suna for something they are not responsible for, Tsunade said, pinching the bridge of her nose, you have nearly fucked us out of a renewed alliance treaty with Suna, and God knows we could have used it, she said. Inoichi Yamanaka then stood up. Lady Tsunade, my Ino. Inoichi began holding back his tears. My baby girl, my only daughter has been murdered by this Natsu asshole. What is being done, he said, and Tsunade looked at him with a sorrowful look. Don't worry Inoichi, I've handled it, Swan said sitting back in her chair. I have sent Jiraiya along with 2 genin and a jonin to go and hunt this Natsu character down, and along with it a Suna shinobi is going along with them she said, and Danzo stood up. And why would Suna help, how do we know it's not a trick Danzo said. Because pricked Swan said the one leading them is Kankuro, brother of the Kazekage and we can trust him Swan said. Because from what we've been able to find out, Natsu is heading to Kiri Tsunade said. So, what's in Kiri that's so important Danzo said not grasping what she was getting at. He's going there to kill the sister of the Kazekage, Temari Tsunade said making the council go wide-eyed. I just pray Jiraiya makes it in time, who knows what could happen she said. Tsunade then got up and began to walk out with a smirk. Try to pull a fast one on me Danzo, well 2 can play at that game she thought. With Jiraiya was running through the forest following Kankuro. Jiraiya looked behind himself and saw his 3 squamates Guy, Sakura and Lee. Jiraiya specifically picked them due to one simple reason, they could not sense chakra, smell a person's scent or have a taijutsu. I hope my message got to Naruto Jiraiya thought and I hope they are able to have a plan in place before I get there Jiraiya thought. We still have 4 more days until we get to Kiri Jiraiya said as they ran. Keep a steady pace and keep your eyes open he said. Yes, Lord Jiraiya Sakura said. Yes sir Lee said with a salute. Yosh Guy shouted may the power of youth guide us on our journey of salvation and justice Guy said. Ino, we may have had our problems, but I will avenge you Sakura thought. Well she and Ino did have a fallout because of Naruto, she was still a fellow Konoha shinobi. Jiraiya seeing the look on Sakura's face, began to sweat hard. Oh shit, kid you better have a plan he thought. 2 days later. In Kiri, Temari wearing a hoodie was sitting on a towel on the beach with a scowl on her face. She was pissed at Naruto, herself and more importantly her. Oh Natsume chirped from her own towel. She was wearing a blue bikini that showed off all her curves and barely containing her big breasts. Can you put some sunscreen on me? I don't want to burn she said. Sure May Naruto said in a smile as he walked up wearing only his orange swim trunks. Turn over and let me get to work he said. May did so and undid the back of her bikini making Naruto blush slightly. Naruto began to apply the sunscreen as May began to giggle. Oh god it's cold May giggled out and Naruto chuckled. Bitch Temari thought scowling at May. Over the past 3 days, May has been at Naruto's side non-stop. They ate together, went out to the movies together, and now the beach together. May has been flirting like crazy with Naruto, and Naruto has been enjoying his time with her. What's so great about her Temari thought sure she has a nice face, great hair, she's a powerful kunoichi okay I see it now Temari thought as she buried herself into her knees. Am I not sexy enough? I may not be all that girly, but I'm not ugly she thought. Temari then stood up with her fists clenched. No I can't give up, I'll show Naruto that I'm wait what am I going to show Naruto Temari thought catching herself. I don't like him Temari thought blushing and clenching her fists. I just don't want him to end up with some slut, yeah, it's for his own well-being she thought. Temari then took in a deep breath. Okay let's do this Temari thought as she took off her hoodie. Temari was wearing a light green bikini that was not too revealing and not too concealed. Temari began to walk over to Naruto with a smile on her face. Hey Natsu Temari said, can you put some sunscreen on me too? I can't reach my back that well she said. As she approached, she saw both Naruto and May sitting up straight looking down at the sand. Natsu Temari said walking up, she then saw a small toad in the sand and got a bad feeling. The toad then puffed into smoke and Naruto looked over to Temari with fear in his eyes. Temari we have a problem Naruto shouted jumping up. Konoha no it was me who killed those rude guys and Jiraiya is coming here to kill me Naruto said with air quotes. I'm fucked Naruto said grabbing his head. Naruto then felt something touch his shoulder and turned to see May holding his shoulder. What is going on May said in complete seriousness. Naruto swallowed hard and began to explain. After a 30-minute explanation May had a furious look on her face. I was thinking about going to Konoha for an alliance, but looks like that's dead in the water, May said, before looking at Naruto and Temari, who had nervous looks on their faces. I'm not going to turn you in, so, get those looks of your faces May said, and both Naruto and Temari let out a breath they didn't know they were holding. And what we need to do now is get Naruto out of here without raising suspicion she said rubbing her chin. How are we going to do that Naruto asked. The last time I left a village I had to fake my own death and now they're on my ass again Naruto said. Just then he felt 2 hands grab his shoulders and saw a smiling Temari. That's it Temari said making both May and Naruto confused. We can fake your death again she said and both Naruto and May looked at her like she was crazy. What are you serious? I just started my life as Natsu Naruto said. I got a manga shop membership, a bank account, hell I even have life insurance he said. Well, it's not like we have a lot of options May said. I guess we have to fake your death, she said a little saddened. May then leaned forward and grabbed Naruto pulling her into her breasts. Oh Naruto, our love was just starting, but fate slashed it to pieces, May said crying and I'm tears. Oh how cruel I cannot be with you, but it must be so I'm Mizukage and you're about to be die she said, and Naruto chuckled. Don't worry Mei, Naruto said with a reassuring smile, we can still be friends, I promise he said. Mei then kissed his cheek, leaving an imprint of her lips on it. You're so sweet Naruto, thank you, Mei said hugging him. Unknown to Naruto he gave both Mei and Temari a feeling of hope. Alright then Naruto said breaking the hug, how are we going to fake my death Naruto said. Last time Kankuro used one of his puppets Temari said, so we'll need another one, and a master to use it she said. But Chio was looking at a smiling Naruto, Temari and Mei, so you need me to use my puppets to help fake Naruto's death again Chio said, and they all nodded. How long did you say it'll be until the leaf ninja arrive Chio asked. 2 days Naruto said. Pervy Sage is taking the long way here, will that be enough time he said, and Chio looked puzzled. And Chio thought out loud, I'll need a pair of your cloths, your exact height and weight measurements, and a sample of your hair. I'll see if I can modify my puppets to look like you exactly, except for the face she said, making them all smile. Okay now for the tricky part Mei said, we need to make it look realistic, so Natsu will need to attack Temari somewhere in the village, but where Mei said. Don't you still have the west wing of the hospital under construction Chio said, and Mei nodded very well, we best get to work then she said with a cackle. 2 days later, Jiraiya, Kankuro, Sakura, Guy and Lee all arrived to the outskirts of Kiri. Jiraiya looked down on the village and was seeing that it was being rebuilt. So is this why your sister was sent here Jiraiya asked, and Kankuro nodded. Yeah, Temari and Elder Chio were sent here to escort a group of Suna medical staff, Kankuro said. Kiri doesn't have a trained medical department, so Elder Chio and the others were supposed to train them he said. But with that psycho Natsu running around that may be in jeopardy he said, let's go and find Temari, I just hope we got here in time he said. Don't worry Kankuro Sakura said to him, I'm sure that Temari's fine she said. Come on let's go Jiraiya said as they rushed towards the village. A few minutes later, Jiraiya and the group were making their way to the Kiri hospital that was still being constructed. As they approached, they saw nurses, doctors and patients rushing out of the hospital. What the hell Jiraiya said confused at the situation. Lord Kankuro woman shouted. Everyone turned and saw a young Suna girl in a nurse's outfit. Mocha, what's going on Kankuro shouted. Lady Temari is inside the hospital fighting Mocha said. It's Natsu, he's back and he's here to kill her, she said with tears in her eyes. Jiraiya and Kankuro realized what was going on. Naruto had a plan. They didn't know what, but they were about to find out. Sakura, Lee, help evacuate the patients from the hospital Jiraiya said, and both nodded. Yes sir Sakura and Lee said before darting off. Die with us, and for God's sakes no 8 gates, Jiraiya said. No need to mess up this village worse than it already is he said, and Guy nodded. Very well Guy said, let's roll he shouted as he, Jiraiya and Kankuro rushed into the hospital. West wing of the hospital, Jiraiya, Guy and Kankuro were rushing down the hallway as they heard the sounds of battle coming from. As they rounded another corner, they all found Temari. Temari roared as she swung her fan at Natsu. Naruto jumped over the fan and proceeded to kick Temari in the face, sending her into the wall. You're mine now Princess Naruto said in his disguised voice as he closed into Temari. As he did, Guy rushed forward and kicked Naruto in the ribs, sending him flying down the hall. Naruto hit the wall and got up with a groan. Oh shit Naruto said holding his ribs. Who the hell did that Naruto said. The no has handsome green beast, might Guy said with his signature smile. His face then turned serious. You are very unyouthful Mr. Natsu Guy said, making Naruto go wide-eyed. You killed a Kunoichi and are now attempting to kill another woman, how despicable he said. Oh, shit Guy sensei is here Naruto said now worried. Naruto wasn't expecting Guy to be here damn. I can't stop the plan now he thought as he stood up. Nice try dude Naruto said, but I won't go down so easily he said as he took out 2 scrolls and opened them up revealing 2 puppets. Naruto then put 2 seal tags on them and Kankuro's eyes went wide. Be careful everyone Kankuro said, this is a secret Suna puppet technique, those puppets will fight unattended now he said, and Jiraiya nodded. Okay got it Jiraiya said. I'll take on Natsu himself, Jiraiya said to Kankuro and Guy. You two take on one of the puppets and be careful he said, and both Guy and Kankuro nodded. Naruto and his puppets then ran off in different directions. Jiraiya followed Naruto, while Guy and Kankuro went after a puppet each. With Kankuro followed the puppet to abandoned part of the hospital. When they were in the clear they both stopped. Lady Chio, is that you Kankuro asked and the puppet nodded. Yes Kankuro Chio said in her voice. I'm controlling the puppets remotely she said. But Ao's help this is very easy Chio said as Ao was behind her with her hand on her shoulder. I appreciate your help, Ao, your sensor ability is remarkable she said, and Ao nodded. I appreciate your kind words Lady Chio Ao said. Chio was on the floor controlling 2 small puppets with her chakra strings. She was simultaneously controlling both of the puppets Naruto summoned. Back with Kankuro. Now then Kankuro Lady Chio said through the puppet, we must make it look like a battle happened, so, summon out Crow, and let's make it look realistic she said as she began to trash the hospital. Kankuro with a smile summoned out Crow and began to destroy the part of the hospital he was in. I always wanted to wreck a building he thought. With Jiraiya and Naruto both stopped in a different part of the hospital. Do they know if it was Naruto, or was it Natsu? Naruto said, and Jiraiya chuckled. Konoha is convinced it's Natsu, Jiraiya said, but this is bad, Naruto. Jiraiya said. Danzo has been using the death of Ino to rile up the citizens. He's trying to portray Suna as a hostile force, he said, and Naruto looked at him wide-eyed. Is he going to push for war? Naruto asked worried, and Jiraiya shook his head. No, but he's certainly going to milk this for all it's worth, Jiraiya said. With Ino's death he's making Tsunade look like an ineffective leader. You need to be more careful, he said. Regardless if he's wrong about Suna being behind her death, he's becoming more popular, he said, and once he gets too popular, he will go to the daimyo and request him to make him Hokage, Jiraiya said, and Naruto frowned. Greedy bastard, Naruto said. Well, this may help you guys out, Naruto said as he opened a scroll. A body appeared and Jiraiya went wide-eyed. A dead blonde boy about Naruto's age appeared. Say hello to Natsu, Naruto said. With Guy. I was chasing after his puppet as the puppet turned around and threw a volley of kunai at Guy. Guy swiftly dodged the kunai and began to run along the wall. Such trivial tactics will not stop me, Guy proclaimed as he neared the puppet. Guy then jumped off the wall and began to spin. Leaf Hurricane, Guy shouted as he threw a kick at the puppet. The puppet threw up his hands in defense and was sent flying into a wall. The puppet hit the wall and it cracked from the amount of force. The puppet fell to ground and got into a defensive stance and got ready. Guy rushed towards the puppet and cocked back his fist. Guy threw a punch at the puppet and the puppet blocked the punch. The puppet countered with a kick that nearly hit Guy's jaw and followed up with punch to the ribs. Guy dodged and jumped back. Your taijutsu isn't bad, Guy said, getting into a stance for a novice, he said with a gleaming smile. But Chio. Novice, Chio shouted. I'll show you a novice, she shouted as she began to focus more on Guy's puppet. Al looked on with a sweat drop. This is a wise elder. Al thought she's acting like a child, he thought. With Guy. I was charging at the puppet and began to throw a flurry of kicks and punches at the puppet. The puppet began to block and counter Guy. At first the puppet was able to keep up with Guy, but after a few minutes it began to be pummeled by the elite Jonin. Yosh, Guy shouted as he threw one final punch at the puppet. The punch connected with its chest and the puppet broke into splinters. Haha, Guy laughed. You cannot beat the power of youth, dear puppet opponent, Guy said. I come in, Jiraiya said over a communication device. Reading you loud and clear, Jiraiya. Go on, Guy said. I killed Natsu, Jiraiya said. Kankuro defeated his puppet as well. Rally back at the entrance of the hospital, he said. Copy that, Guy said as he made his way to the entrance. The next day. Thanks again for your assistance, Kankuro, Jiraiya said to Kankuro, who was standing next to a bandaged Temari. No problem, Lord Jiraiya, Kankuro said as he shook his hand. Unseen by the others, Kankuro slipped a note into Jiraiya's sleeve. I know that relations between Suna and Konoha is strained, but don't be afraid to drop by. We'll be glad to have you, he said, and Jiraiya nodded. Thank you, Kankuro, Jiraiya said as they separated. Sakura stepped forward and smiled at Temari. Sakura began as Temari looked at her curiously. I wanted to thank you for protecting Naruto, Sakura said as Temari's eyes widened. Back at the hospital with Shikamaru, she said, and Temari nodded. Shikamaru has been going off the deep end lately. First Choji, then Ino, she said before coming for a hug. Stay away from Konoha, Sakura whispered in her ear. Shikamaru is dangerous. I don't want him to hurt you, Sakura said, and Temari hugged her back. Thanks, Sakura. Temari said, you be safe too, okay? Natsu isn't the only dangerous ninja out there, she said, and Sakura nodded. Be safe, all of you, Temari said as she and Kankuro began to walk north out the gates and Jiraiya and his group started walking west. Temari and Kankuro walked for an hour until they stopped near an old shack. You two can come on out, Temari said, and the door slid open, revealing Naruto and Mei. How are they? Are they doing okay? Naruto asked, walking towards the two siblings. They're doing fine, Temari said with a smile. I talked to Sakura and Kiri. She wants to be Hokage, to honor you, she said, and Naruto smiled. Sakura is one of the smartest people I know, Naruto said with a hint of nostalgia. If she set her sights on the Hokage seat, then it might be hers one day, he said. We better get back to Suna, Kankuro said. Baki-sensei, and the Chunin squad should be here in 2 days, Lady Mei, he said, and Mei smiled. Thank you, Mei said. I'm grateful for the medical staff. It's just a shame none of you could stay longer, she said as she pulled out a scroll and handed it to Temari. What's this? Temari asked, and Mei chuckled. An alliance treaty, Mei said, making all three go wide-eyed. From what you told me, Konoha isn't to be trusted so easily, she said before looking at Naruto. And any village willing to help those in need are allies of Suna, she said before hugging Naruto. Goodbye, Naruto. I hope to see you again, Mei said, and Naruto hugged her back. I hope so too, Mei, Naruto said before Mei moved over to Kankuro. Safe travels, Lord Kankuro, Mei said, and Kankuro nodded. Mei went over to Temari last. Goodbye, Temari. Take care, she said as she hugged the blonde girl. Mei then went over to her ear and whispered, it's a shame I can't be with Naruto. Mei whispered, maybe you should give it a shot. I've seen the way you looked at him, she said with a smirk, and Temari blushed. Mei stepped back with a grin on her face. Safe travels, Mei said as she disappeared in a swirl of water. Temari, still blushing, looked at Naruto, who had a look on his face. Temari, you okay? You look a little red, Naruto said, and Temari stuttered. I'm fine, Temari said, waving her hands. Let's go home. It's been a stressful few days, Temari said, and the two boys nodded. Naruto put on a Suna Anbu mask with a scorpion on it. The mask had a seal on the inside and turned Naruto's hair black. Let's go home, Naruto said as they all started walking back to Suna. A few hours down the road, Naruto, Temari and Kankuro were walking down the road to the port where they were to board a ferry to the mainland. Unknown to them, several figures were in the trees. Well, look what we have here, Kabuto said, adjusting his glasses. The two older children of the former Kazekage, he said. Should we take them now, Yoroi said, standing next to Kabuto. I want revenge on that puppet user, Miss Yumi said with anger in his voice. I want justice for what happened in the Chunin exams, he said. Patience, you two, Kabuto said with a smirk. Let's not go into battle until it's on our terms, Kabuto said, and both boys nodded. Lord Orochimaru lost his chance at having the Sharingan with Sasuke, Kabuto thought, but having one of the Sand siblings could be a good replacement. The Kazekage Sand Kekage Genkai in their genes would be very beneficial to our dear Lord, Kabuto thought. Let's go, you two, Kabuto said. We need reinforcements and a plan, Kabuto said as all three disappeared in swirls of leaves. What if Naruto joins Anbu after Sasuke retrieval mission? Thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoy this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel and leave a like if you guys need the next part. Comment down, and thanks for watching the video and see you guys in the next video.